Good morning, Xbox. Yes, welcome to the 31st episode of Good Morning Xbox. We have got a dynamite show loaded up for you. Our panel is ready to rock and roll, and we have a special guest with us this morning, someone who I've been very excited to say will be on the show. And it's really great that Eternal Shaddai took initiative to bring this fantastic lady here. Yes, she literally is the lady of gaming. Shaddai, would you like to introduce our special guest?
Sure. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Good Morning Xbox. And this morning we have from Grown Women's Gaming, Lady Infamous. Good morning. How are you this morning?
Good morning, and buenos dias. I know it's early for a lot of us, especially me, but I am so glad to be here today. And good morning to you guys and ladies and chat.
Yes. I think there's one thing
I'm having sound issues, so give me a second. I can't hear.
You sound good, Paul. You sound good, Paul. You're coming in loud and clear. You're still ugly, though, but hey, you're loud and clear. But, one thing we've certainly been saying over the course of this podcast and very other podcasts is that, we definitely need more lady ambassadors to step up to the plate and lead the charge in the podcasting scene. Obviously, streaming's becoming a lot more popular with the female demographic, but gaming is still highly regarded or looked at in a lot of circles like it's just a guy's kind of thing. And we were just recently, again, you see some of the negativity brought to light with girl gamers playing games like Halo and stuff and getting basically like there's a difference. And we all know that there's a difference between trash talk and these guys that get very, very vocal and very demeaning, and that has nothing to do with your skill level. It comes down to that they just don't like the fact that they're getting beaten by someone of the opposite gender, and it's just disheartening. But we're not here to gloat, I suppose, on the whole aspect, because we could stay here forever and probably talk about that. But it is nice to have, again, a grown woman gaming on our panel this morning. But speaking of the panel, let's introduce them. I will start it with the round circle, and we will go with this dashing young gentleman who is on my right of the screen. Mrs. Scrub Nurse is in the house.
Oh, me. Morning, guys. How y'all doing? And ladies, what's going on? We're having a good morning. Hope you got your cup of coffee. We're going to talk some games. We're going to talk some Netflix, and we're going to have some fun. So let's get it started.
Speaking of ladies, our permanent lady member of the panel, yes, with the dashing beanie and the fantastic blue-colored hair, it's Coolcat Terri.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're all doing fantastic. Hope you had a great weekend thus far. And let's get into it.
Let's do it. Speaking of people who know how to do it, Eternal Shaddai from Cell Block 22. What's going on, brother? Good to see you this morning.
Good morning. How are you this morning? Also, for me, fine. Playing some Halo Infinite, Pillars of Eternity. Still not done. Plenty of gaming, man. What
That's
about
good.
You guys?
Well, we'll get to that in just a second. Let's get down to Cerebral Paul if he's ready to roll. Cerebral, you're with us. That sounds like a no. Let's move over to the other dashing gentleman with a fantastic Xbox swag, Axel, with a slight rearrangement of his background, but still looks amazing as always. How are you doing, Axel?
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm doing good. Guys, I started one of my backlog games this week, and I can already tell I'm going to play this game for over 100 hours, and I'm loving it so far. We'll see how it goes after 100 hours.
100 hours in, so you're making that 500 hour tout of the next Dying Light 2 seem like it's actually quite manageable.
No, like I just started the game. I have maybe 2-3 hours into it. I can already tell that based on the way that the game is going, I'm like, this is going to be a 100-hour game. Just nice. Kind of throwing it in there.
Well, game's got to be good if you can put 500 hours into anything.
Yeah, no way.
Cerebral Paul is in the house. There you go. Looking dapper as always.
I got it working.
Oh, look at his background. I could be wrong, but that looks like no pineapple on pizza. Is that correct?
That's exactly what it is.
That's what it's always saying.
I'm making a political statement this week. This is my political statement.
Paul starts out with war early in the morning. Trying to get everybody going.
Yes, he is.
Oh, so lady. All right, let's ask our guest that question. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
I'm pineapple on pizza. Don't hate me. Don't hate me. Pineapple on pizza. I love it. I love it.
I'm sorry, I have to go now. No. I'm
Okay.
kidding.
Have a good day,
Yeah,
sir.
you have a good day, Paul.
Yeah.
Before we get right into the topics, lady, maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself for a lot of the gaming population who might be checking out this show this morning and are probably not familiar with you. A lot of people are. You've been around these gaming streets a long damn time. As a matter of fact, heck, like I said, I've been doing this now since about 2014, and I think I can recall gaming with you and checking out podcasts you were on going way back to probably around that time or shortly thereafter. I know it's been a while, so tell us a little bit about what you got going on and how you kind of got tangled up into this racket.
Oh, okay. Well, if anybody don't know, my name is Lady Infamous 415. I am founder and co-owner of Grown Women Gaming. It is a podcast that circles around women that plays video games. I did not see any, outlet for us at the time. This is 2014, 2015, and decided to start something with that. So on the shout out to Delilah, Sharice, and L Boogie 0208. With us, we've been doing our podcast for like 5 years. We're almost at 200 episodes coming up in a few weeks, and I've been in these gaming streets for a long time. Did GRG, did Console Corner, Lady Corner with Lady Foxfire and She Wolf. So way back. So, and anybody that see me know I'm a shooter. My game is FPS and RPGs, and you'll always see me shoot some up, especially in these gaming streets. But yeah, more low key now. As I got older and I learned a few things. But trust me, I was on one when I first got on. But it's good to see the diverse cast of people that has good opinions, non-biased opinions of gaming. Period, not a specific platform or game, just gaming. Period.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, if you're not familiar with this particular podcast that we do here, it is Xbox centric, but we don't spend any amount of time whatsoever coming on here with hatred and downplay of competing consoles. That's not what this podcast is about. We'll call out the BS where we see some BS, but outside of that, we just like to try to keep most of it positive and upbeat, what's happening in the Xbox community and all that stuff. So, yeah.
Well, I'm glad to be here.
Well, we are glad to have you here. Yes, like I said, you were definitely one of the pioneers in terms of women gaming and in the spotlight, so to speak, and you were definitely an ass kicker. Yes, if you like COD and games of the sort, she can take you to school, baby. Let me tell you.
Oh yeah, we did didn't we do custom lobby on Modern Warfare 2019 like a while back?
We did, yeah. We want to try to get you back there.
Oh man, Activision got to tighten up. They got to get better with how they conduct business before I even spend no money on that product again. Trust me, I'm missing Call of Duty, but I got to stand my grounds.
You're playing Halo Infinite, though, right?
I'm sorry?
You're playing Halo Infinite, though, right?
Yes.
All right, there you go. Well, we'll bring you over to Halo Infinite, a real game.
Yeah.
Hey, remember, Terry's here. Careful with your language.
You're not missing much with Call of Duty this time. Trust me.
Really? Did you get the new one?
Yeah, it's.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
That sounds very interesting.
All right, so let's get into the topics. First, let's give a big shout out to our fantastic chat who shows up here pretty much each and every week. And first and foremost is our good friend of the show, Doggy Dog 420. I knew I could hear that bark. He comes in hot and heavy with the first super chat of the morning and says, "Good morning, Newf, panel, and chat. Much love to all." Well, much love right back at you, Doggy Dog. Shout out to Doggy and Jago Kukin, who were on Gaming After Dark last week and definitely held it down. You can definitely see that Doggy has grown as a podcaster. He's coming into his own, and you definitely show it on his third or fourth appearance there that he's starting to get definitely that, more comfortable, and he was just, he was kicking it. It was a great time. And speaking of Jago, shout out to Jago. It's going through a tough time in his life right now. I guess him and his wife are separating, not to put out all of the dirty laundry, but he made it public on Twitter, so I guess it's okay to say. So shout out to Jago. He might be here in the podcast chat at some point. He usually is. Shout out to you, Jacob. We're thinking of you. And speaking of thinking of people, again, our hearts and prayers still out with Spooky Sprocket, who's still in hospital, showing some signs of movement apparently, but still a long way to go. And the clock is ticking. So our love and support go out to Spooky Sprocket, and shout out to, obviously, as well, Trinity Warrior, who's been keeping us in the loop. Catch him back up at the chat. DJ Berto Das, $2. Boom boom kaboom. Yes, boom boom kaboom indeed. Crazy Louie is in the house. I knew I smelled somebody crazy up in here. Apex is here. You're wicked hot, hanging out with us as well. John 907 is in the house. Matty Burns, Pope Art is here. Hey, our good buddy the Pope is gracious with his presence. He was a guest on this show just 2 weeks ago. Fantastic show. Make sure you go check it out if you missed it. Wicked interview about his designs and how he got into the business. Hey, the Mag is here. He's just poking his head in the door, and then he's off to work. Well, good to see you here, Mag. We certainly missed you on GAD this past week. Ice Queen Gaming hanging out with us as well. What's happening, Ice Queen? And I think we're just about Casket Repair. Brandon Barnes. Who else? We got Dizzy Delta hanging out with us. Happy Cloud Gamer. We got Crazy Greek Dude here. And I think Lost Forever's in the house, and I think we caught up with everybody. All righty, let's move it right on, shall we? And who's going to take away this topic first thing this morning? We're going to hand it off to Axel. So Axel, you're going to have a chance to speak on this topic first, and that is about, I guess, the death of Xbox One. Maybe hang our heads in solemnness here, and and send that VCR beast at the pasture.
Press F in the chat to pay respects to the Xbox One.
Yes. So quietly, yes, if people aren't know what we're talking about, the Xbox One was discontinued apparently in 2020 silently under the radar of Microsoft, who decided to, I guess, move their assembly lines complete into a full-on Xbox Series X and S production, which totally makes sense. And of course, it's brought the spotlight even more so now that we've heard that Sony is planning to, some odd, weird way, remanufacture PlayStation 4s when the world is crying to get more PS5s. It makes no sense, but it definitely makes sense that the Xbox One was silently put out to pasture. So, Axel, tell us about the Xbox One experience, where you started, how it went, what you liked, what you didn't like.
Okay, yeah, my Xbox One history. I got one 2 years after it came out, so 2015-ish, right? And my first game on it was Titanfall. It was packed in, and I immediately went out and got other games. But the beginning of the Xbox One generation for me was almost non-existent because I was in college and focused fully on college. I even bought Halo 5 Guardians and just kept it wrapped until I was done with college and all that good stuff. So the Xbox One, I got to experience the snap at the end of the its life cycle. So I only got to experience playing games and watching YouTube videos for maybe a month before they removed Snap. And I was very disappointed because, as I said, I was just focused on college. So I was always in the library, always studying with other friends. I wasn't one of those smart kids that just automatically got the college stuff. I was one of those guys that had to study to understand it. But I never really experienced anything bad with my Xbox, and maybe it's because I just isolated myself from gaming in general, that I just avoided all that trash talking, if you will, back and forth of how Xbox wasn't up to par and all this whatnot. To me, it was just about gaming and games. Like, hey, that game looks interesting. I'm going to play that one. Hey, I'm going to play that one. And then backwards compatibility came in, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And all the disc work. So I actually went out and bought about 5 backwards compatible games when that was announced, and just to try it to see how it would work. And then Xbox One X came out, and I got that one, the Scorpio edition, day one. And I went out and got a new TV because my old TV couldn't even use the features the Xbox One X was putting out. And so I went out and got me an LG OLED, best decision of my life. And it was phenomenal. The 4K gaming, whether it was dynamic or locked, was amazing. The HDR changed everything. I think HDR was a bigger leap than going from 1080p to 4K, because you can't really, unless you got some really good eyes, you can't really tell when your TV is moving from 1080p to 4K too much. But you can definitely tell when it's moving from regular lighting to HDR and HDR10.
Big time.
Sea of Thieves, I got that game on HDR10, phenomenal, best HDR. Gears 5, awesome HDR on that one. Forza Horizon 4, HD, awesome HDR. And then the Elite controllers came out. I don't have one with me, but they had the rumble triggers going on right here, and they had the short throws and the paddles on the back and custom button mapping. It just, the weight of the Elite controller was something else. It became my favorite controller. I played with my Elite so much that all the rubbering on the grips came off. And I'm actually watching iFixit videos on how to put it back. So yeah, the Elite controllers for me was worth it. But the best game I played probably on my Xbox One of the generation has to be Red Dead Redemption 2. The best story by far. I love the graphics, the world, the activities. I like how they took care to every detail in that game, and the stupid stuff that happens with your dumb horse. So, and it had some amazing open world set pieces. My favorite mission in Red Dead Redemption 2 is what is it? Rivalries, New and Old, something like that. It's when you go to that lady's house and you burn the whole house down. It was a phenomenal mission. Just the camera angles and everything. It was phenomenal. So I loved my Xbox.
Is that the one where she has like the mansion or whatever?
Yeah. When they took the kid and you're wanting him back, and so you go and you basically kill everybody to extort him for information of where the kid is.
Yeah, no doubt. Rockstar's last good game, according to Dizzy Delta, or actually just game. He has a point. I think Rockstar spent the last 10 years on GTA 5. It's crazy. So, Axel, let me ask you, when you got obviously you say you were a little bit delayed into that generation because of college and stuff. So did you end up with the Xbox Fat, the OG, the Beast, the VCR, as people like to call it?
Yeah, I call it the Xbox Fat. That's what I call it.
Xbox Fat. Hey, there's nothing wrong with thick consoles, right?
Yeah. I did end up getting a Model 1 Xbox with the Kinect. I was a huge fan of Kinect on the Xbox 360, so I was happy that Kinect was built in. And back then, all the Kinect controls were still working. Record that, snap that, Xbox on, turn on snap. We used to mess around if your voice was coming out of the TV. We used to yell into the microphones, me and my friends, Xbox off, and turn each other's Xbox off. It was just hilarious stuff we would do. Nice. But yeah, the Xbox One Fat, I was a huge fan of the Kinect integration. I personally think they should have kept it, but I'm just one guy.
Right. Now, one of its biggest strengths when it came out was obviously the backwards compatibility, which certainly evolved over time and became, one of its biggest strengths in the generation that people didn't have to leave some of their old games behind. It's also keeps on evolving. Do you think that's also part of the reason why it was easier for Microsoft to put the Xbox out to pasture, because they did have that ability to carry over the games into the newer consoles, especially if you have the Series X, because it doesn't leave your disc collection out in the cold. And we all know how much discs are important to old Newf Nukem over here. So do you think that might play a part?
I think it plays some part, but between you and me, I think Microsoft could not wait for last generation to end. It's like beating a dead horse. Nobody missed the Xbox One, and I think this is why it was silent. Nobody missed it. Everybody was ready to move on. Me myself, I got an Xbox Series X day one, so once I experienced quick resume and the SSD and all that other good stuff, and backwards compatibility was there too. All of my games came with me. There was no reason to miss the Xbox One, because Xbox is now more platform agnostic. If you have a game, it's probably backwards compatible, so it probably works with your current console. There's nothing to miss. So yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. Now, it's just like the Xbox 360 generation is largely going to be remembered, unfortunately, not for just its great games, but obviously for the Red Rings of Death issue. Do you think the Xbox One will have a notoriously bad memory or a good lasting impression? We all know how the E3 of 2013 started and definitely put the Xbox behind the eight ball to get right off the get-go. Like I said, it might have been Xbox forward thinking a little bit too far ahead at the time, which I think was the case. It isn't that their ideas weren't sound. We've said this on many podcasts. It's funny because a lot of the stuff they were implementing in 2013 are actually here, and nobody's hardly said a word. It's because they just kind of came in quietly. Whereas, at the time, it was almost like getting stuff shoveled down your throat. So, what do you think there would be anything? A negative connotation with the Xbox One, actually?
I think it would be games. So the Xbox 360, for all the Red Ring of Death issues, I think everybody who had a 360 got a Red Ring of Death. Everybody I know did. And it didn't matter because the games were there. You were willing to tolerate it because the games were there. Microsoft at the time was spending a lot of money on their first party and a lot of money on third party deals. Xbox 360 was the Call of Duty console and it was the sports console, and they had all these amazing deals. So the games, people remember the Xbox 360 for the games. And if anybody is going to remember Xbox One for anything, it's for the lack of games. And I think that's what it will be remembered for, is the fact that in the, 7-year life cycle that it had, there aren't that many truly memorable games that stood out. It has the Halo, Gears, Forza, the big three, the Holy Trinity, but only few people know about Sunset Overdrive, certainly not casuals. Only certain people know about Quantum Break. Crackdown 3 was the cloud game, and it was supposed to shape up the industry, and it kind of didn't. There's a lot of tech in Crackdown 3 that works now, but at the for being the first cloud computing game, it kind of the impact was not felt.
Yeah, I think a lot of crack went down while they were making the game.
Sumo Digital, they're a fantastic support studio. I like Sumo Digital, but as a primary studio, everything they've put out primarily has under-delivered, in my opinion, from Sumo Digital. Nice. Crackdown 3, Battletoads was Delilah. Just in general, Sumo Digital just hasn't really made an impact as a primary developer. But they're a fantastic support studio. So, yeah, I think that's what the Xbox One will be remembered for. It would be for Microsoft basically almost killing themselves.
Yeah.
That's what
do you think at this point they've somewhat recovered from that sort of debacle, Axel?
Absolutely. I think so. Gosh, there's so many games. Even though Game Pass was launched with the Xbox One, nobody really associates Game Pass with the Xbox One. Everybody's associating Game Pass with the Xbox Series of consoles, as far as casuals are concerned, talking when I go to the game stores. When people think Xbox now, they think Game Pass and lots of games. So I think they've recovered from that. There are no games on Xbox mantra. Xbox has no games. That was basically their theme song, if you will. You know how everybody has a saying, like wrestlers have a saying. The Xbox One saying was Xbox has no games, and
it is true.
For for a little bit of it, it was true. If they did have games, they weren't critically acclaimed. They didn't have any third-party deals. The third-party deals they did have under-delivered or got canceled altogether. I think Xbox changed their business model because of what happened on the Xbox One. They are no longer really giving development range to outside studios on their games anymore. It's all internal now. And I think that's the big reason why they bought so many studios, is so that they could have games and control the quality inside and out from beginning to end.
2015, would you say that was probably the strongest year for the Xbox One? 2015, because if I'm correct, I do believe that was the year Gears 4 came out. I know it was Rise of the Tomb Raider. there was a slew of games that came out in 2015, and then there was a big lull after that.
So 2015 is about when I started playing my Xbox because I graduated in summer of 2014. So I started playing 2014 and 2015. Gears 4 came out. I was happy for that. And you're right. It was a long wait for the next game. I think Forza Motorsport might have come out after that.
Yeah, because I remember the ad in 2015, and there was like Rise of the Tomb Raider, and I think it was Halo 5, and there was like 3 or 4 of the fairly big games that all came out that year, and it was like a pinnacle of the of that generation for Xbox. And then, like I said, it just flatlined after that, where everything either got delayed or just came out well under expectation. I mean, you brought up Quantum Break. Sunset Overdrive was the amazing game that didn't get enough love. Quantum Break was the game that also was fairly amazing and didn't get enough love. But it's kind of funny. And then they bring out Control, right? And Control, in my personal opinion, is not even half of the game that Quantum Break is, but yet that's the one that got all the critical acclaim.
Right. So when I got my Xbox, I started playing all the backlogs. But you're right. I'm trying to think what came out in 2016. Because I can tell you I can remember 2017 was when the Series X, the One X came out.
The Scorpio edition.
Yeah, the Scorpio. But I can't remember what happened in 2016. I think you're right. And in 2017, not much happened. In 2018, we got a lot of games, but those 2 years, 2016 and 2017, were pretty dry for Microsoft. Even their E3s, for as many games that they showed, were just, well, where's your games? What's showcasing your console?
Right.
So I believe you're right. Yeah.
Okay. Let's head over and get Paul to jump in here on this particular topic. Paul, what were your favorite moments from the Xbox One generation? What did they do right? What did they do wrong? Would love to hear your take on it, Mr. Grizzled Old Veteran.
I get the whole Xbox One had no games and Xbox One was a failure, and I just didn't experience that. And I think it's because at the time, especially, I wasn't into the whole social media side of gaming. I wasn't getting fed all of this noise. So I was just having fun for what was there. Rise Son of Rome was one of the first games I played, and from the moment I put it in, I was like, holy shit. It was, and it was a fun game. And to be honest, I was never able to complete that game till this year, I swear to God. And I played it at launch. But there was a couple of sequences that I had trouble with until this year. But yeah, I'm not one like you guys who reminisces all this. I was doing this and I played this game and it was amazing. All I know is I had a good time with the console. And I've said it before. What I miss most about Kinect is being like games like Madden, where you could go shift left, shift right. You could tell
Exactly.
You could call an audible, actually call an audible instead of having to go, okay, I have to push this button, then I have to go this way and tell these guys to shift over. I miss that. Yeah, I miss that. I wish they would at least put those voice commands back in our headset. Let us control the team that way. One, it got you more into the game. You would actually learn what each thing did, But as far as like, I got the Xbox One. I played it pretty much at launch. My roommate got it in December that year. But I didn't get one till a couple of years after that. Friends of mine gifted me one because I was going through a hard time, and they said, look, we got to do something. He's lonely, he's depressed, he's isolated. Here's an Xbox One. Thank you. And that got me into, what was it? Destiny. And one of the Forza came with it. And then, see, those are my memories when I got the toys. I got the One X. I won it the first year that Taco Bell did their giveaway. You had to buy the combo meal and put the code in.
I got so much diarrhea trying to win one of those consoles. I sacrificed myself for one of those, and I couldn't win.
Axel's like, yeah, I haven't had hair on my bum in over 5 years.
My digestive system still hasn't recovered.
So it was a crunchy gordito combo box that I wanted on. What's funny is they were $5 each at the time, and I spent about $15, so it was like the third box I tried. So that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course I got this one, the series. Well, then at launch I had this one, but yeah, to me there's no going back because some of you know I had to go back to the One X after a while because my Series X, my first one,
Right.
the HDMI port fell inside the box and wouldn't come out. Yeah, so it's like, well, we're gonna send that back in and get that taken care of. But going back to not having quick resume, to not having the fast load times and all that other stuff is really noticeable. I mean, extremely noticeable. You notice how fast it is, but you don't notice how slow the other system is until you have to go back to it.
Yeah.
You know.
Fact.
Other than that, I mean, like I said, I just enjoyed the games for what they were. Were there some clunkers? Sure. I think Game Pass for me, I was actually and I was actually in Alpha Game Pass. I was in it before it was open to the public, so I've been enjoying it since pre-day one. And like I've said before, for me, that's become part of the accessibility wrapping because it allows me to try games that I would never, ever, ever consider. Like Cuphead. Cuphead is beautiful. Cuphead is great. I cannot play Cuphead. You could put a gun to my head and say, look, if you can't beat this level, we are going to shoot you. Well, I'm going to say my prayers right then and there because I can't get past the first level of Cuphead.
Well, at least you got past the introductory tutor level.
Yeah. But I think it's a beautiful game, and I actually love watching people play it for a while. But yeah, but so for me, the biggest thing of that generation was Game Pass more than anything else. Do I love the 4K graphics and all that, the HD? Yeah, I was also an early adapter for HD DVD. May she rest in peace. So I don't mind being an early adapter. I like it. I like technology. I've always said that. I'm never going to be one of the old guys that, how does this work? No, I'm going to be the old guy figuring it out. I will still be yelling, get off my lawn though. But, but as far as technology goes, I'm right there. So I have most of my memories in gaming have to do with the social aspects. And a lot of that came about during the Xbox One X era. Because I was pushed away from social multiplayer gaming during the 360 era. Because I'm sorry, you Call of Duty people a bunch of assholes. I mean,
hey, watch yourself.
Yeah.
Them fighting words.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, nice. Lots of fighting words.
So, yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
Cool. Eternal Shaddai, tell us about your fondest moments from Xbox. What do you think they did right with the Xbox One, and what do you think they should have could have buried?
I think not too long ago we were talking about, I guess, the Xbox 20th anniversary, so we were trying to go by different eras. And during that year of the fat one, like Axel liked to call it, the
fat one.
I majority of the time I used the Kinect was one to try it out with Rise, but I kind of looked silly just calling volley for for the game, but I turned it off. But majority of the time I used it because my kids during my daughter during that year was born, and trying to handle my kids and try to play. I usually say, hey, Xbox, go to Hulu, Sesame Street, and all that. So that for me, that was a huge plus, especially for people that have kids, and you trying to multitask. So that one actually was a big help, so they could entertain themselves watching TV. But on the gaming side, when I first bought that, I started playing Rise, Son of Rome. a really masterpiece. I wish that that game continued, even though a lot of gamers requested for a sequel and it never happened because during that year there was some problem between Crytek and Microsoft. I know it was something, but they never greenlit the sequel to it. Then on that one you had Titanfall. Also, Titanfall was really awesome during that year, especially on the first release. The multiplayer was awesome, but everybody was that year. That was when they had no campaign, but I guess you had to buy the collector's edition separately with no game, and that was another problem. So it was one problem after the next. The snap on that one, especially that feature was awesome. Playing while watching TV or any type of sport.
Mhm.
I guess a lot of people is requesting that back again for the Series X. It was really awesome feature. Also, the best feature when I started playing Crackdown, not Crackdown, Dead Rising 3. I know that was something that Axel mentioned it, and that was when when it was letting you use your phone to nuke the zombies in the game. That was an awesome feature, especially using the smart glass. That was an awesome feature. I thought it was gonna continue, but I guess there was some reason that a lot of people wasn't using it because they were thinking like, okay, I'm playing, but at the same time I'm watching, I'm watching my cell phone. But they're trying to make it as, even though it was underpowered, there was a lot of things that we have to be happy about, because they came with some ideas that for me it was unexpected, like that one that I just mentioned about using your smart glass while you're playing your game. There is a lot of them, because I also kind of switch a lot of Xbox, because one of them, for some X reason, I think it was when Assassin's Creed Syndicate was released. I know I had the disc, and when I inserted it didn't want it to read it. It was reading Titanfall. It was reading all the games except that one. For some reason. But then my Xbox One froze. So what I did was I kind of formatted and went to GameStop. I'm like, I just want the white one, because I think that was the Quantum Break edition, because it was the white one. And I went to GameStop. I traded in. I'm like, I'm trying to get the white one, but it was because for some reason my Xbox was kind of breaking down me slowly but surely. I didn't want to spend another $500, and I kind of did. So I finally end up having the white one.
Gotcha.
But yes, I know it's about social, but social for me started on the 360. Even though we hated Call of Duty, especially when it comes to the social.
I thought it was going to soap drop, but
Yeah, but at the same time, but you know what? But at the same time, you gain enemies, but at the same time you gain friends at the same time, which actually transferred to the next generation, probably until now. You never know. But if it wasn't because of that, well, but for me, I don't miss it. Once the Scorpio was released, I actually went quickly and bought the Scorpio edition. And yeah, since then I'm like, whatever. Phil Spencer took over. You could see a lot of changes on the Xbox community when that actually happened. This we're still expecting a lot of things from Phil. We're asking a lot from Phil to see what he's gonna do since he took over. It actually did a 360 on that era. There was a lot of, even though because I know there's something, for some reason, there's something that I feel like Phil had. I can't speak for him, but it's one of those that probably Phil didn't want to deal with Don Matrick. I guess Don Matrick decided some crazy things that he didn't want to, but he was like, the head. But now that he's the head, like, oh my God, finally this dude is out. So he
Mhm.
started changing a lot of things. So you can tell even on the documentary, you could
Yeah,
tell a lot
yeah.
of people is just relieved that that guy left.
Yeah.
Like he really did ruin it. So Game Pass, Game Pass is, for a lot of people, it's a must have, for some not. And I know later on probably it's gonna happen like Netflix. So I know that's one of the subjects that we
Yep.
talk later on. And for a lot of people, it's good, but at the same time it's bad if they decide, if they
Mhm.
keep putting a lot of content, the price will increase.
Mm.
But other than that, I don't miss the Xbox One for nothing. I
Yeah.
really don't. So you know what? I create a casket. Whoever got one of those, whoever got one of those old VCRs, whatever,
Yeah.
please let me have
Mhm.
it. I will
Okay.
dig that sucker in. So
Nice.
I don't miss it.
Indeed. Let's catch up with the chat real quick because our good friend of the show, Dirt Griggity, is in the house. He draws $5 and says, "Good morning, everybody. My favorite Xbox One moment was the announcement of Project Scorpio and Gears 5. So those were two certainly pinnacle moments from the Xbox One. And the one statement that I got to say, we heard this that whole generation, the majority of it was Xbox got no games. And you know what? Nothing could be further from the truth. It had tons of great games. Heck, I mean, it had almost every multi-plat that the competitors had. It was just
Thank
that
you.
it lacked a couple of pinnacle franchises. I think it was just that, the games that were notoriously good in previous years, like Halo 5 was considered by many to be a disappointment. And I think, even Gears kind of took a bit of a back step to some degree, or at least, we got so many Gears haters are like, Gears is dead and Gears is a has-been. So I guess it's the way things were perceived, but there was also a lot of amazing stuff as well that came out on the Xbox One. Like, I don't know when I've had this much fun on a generation, despite all the crap that went down. I mean, like I said, my favorite game of last generation came out on the Xbox One. It was Rise of the Tomb Raider, and all of those games look absolutely dynamite on that old hardware. That was just insane. But anyway, I'll get to my part when we get there. Why are you waving your little sausage at it?
No,
What's going
because
on
I
there?
forgot about this game also before we go to the next one.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
The
You're gonna give
God.
Eternal his own show. I swear to God.
No, Crimson Dragon. When everybody
Crimson
wanted
Dragon.
Panzer Dragoon, that was a flop.
That one hurts.
Coolcat Terri.
You had to get personal.
Coolcat, what was your perception of the Xbox One overall? Things they did right, things perhaps that they screwed up on, and what's your fondest memory or least fondest memory from that console?
For me, I mean, overall, I was, pretty satisfied with that generation for the Xbox. I mean, I didn't really have any really complaints for it. But like Axel brought up, the biggest complaint, people always used, to shoot back was Xbox has no games. But for me, I mostly play third-party and indie games anyway, so that was never anything that mattered to me. I'm not looking for exclusive titles. So I had plenty of stuff to play to keep me happy. And the Kinect was a cool feature that they did. I never really cared much for like the motion sensor part of it. I didn't really use that. But when it came to the voice commands and things, it was fantastic. I like doing the same thing like Axel brought up with Xbox on and off, and adjust the volume, things like that. It was very innovative, and because of that, it really pushed on other companies to innovate. And now we have Amazon went and they had their Alexa Echo Dots and all their stuff now, because Microsoft really pushed the idea like, hey, this voice stuff really does kind of catch on. Cell phones have it all built in. So it was a great thing to have. It was just a little ahead of its time, but a little bit. And people, with the bad marketing before the release of the console with the Kinect, it really kind of hurt it, which is, basically what led to its downfall as a generation. But no, it was pretty good. And I loved how, through that whole generation, Microsoft was always innovating and pushing to keep things accessible when it comes to tech. When you compare Xbox to the competitors during that generation, Xbox was the first one to where you could have a mobile app to where you could do voice chat with your friends when you're not on your console. So if you're on the go and you want to still, be in Xbox chat, you could do that. The competitors didn't have that. When it comes to external hard drives, Xbox was the first one to make it to where you could have an external hard drive to expand your storage space. The competitors took years after that the competitors took years after that before they got on that bandwagon.
Preach.
So like that was fantastic. I'm trying to think. It's been so long trying to remember all the things that came out over the time. So like it's just little things like that. It's like it doesn't seem like much to some people, but those things matter a lot. And for me, at that time, my husband was in the Navy, so we were traveling a lot. So to have that extra mobility, with like the Xbox chat on the phones and stuff, that really helped because he doesn't have access to a gaming console when he's, deployed, but he had his cell phone. So if he, was able to get a signal, we could still kind of, connect to each other and talk. So it was like an amazing thing that, Microsoft, brought out that a lot of people may not have appreciated because, they may not have had a need for it like I did. So it was just, some of those things. And then when it comes to like the games and stuff, Rise, like Paul brought up, was, a fantastic game. I really loved Rise Son of Rome. And then Recore was another one that I really had a lot of fun playing. And I usually don't get too much into platformers because they drive me insane. But that was one that I thoroughly enjoyed, and I played to completion. And it was another one that, sadly, didn't, get a lot of, positive, feedback on, despite the fact that I'm still waiting for the sequel. They said they're going to make one, so I'm still hopeful. So we'll see how that goes. And that generation also brought back, the Tomb Raider trilogy. They reimagined Tomb Raider during that generation. And the first one was a timed exclusive to the Xbox One. So it was, a huge thing for me as a Tomb Raider fan to be like, since I, predominantly played on Xbox, to be like, yes, I can play the new Tomb Raider, right away. I didn't have to worry about the exclusivity thing too much. So it was exciting to, get something because the competitors had, that leg up when it comes to that kind of stuff. So to have, one game that I actually cared about, be exclusive was fun for me at the time. Otherwise, I never bothered looking at exclusives. But those cool, there's just little things. There's really not too much I can really cover. I can list off a whole bunch of games that I had a lot of fun playing during that generation. But but it's just it's hard to remember. It's been so much time has lapsed. I don't remember everything. But I do not have bad feelings when it comes to it. Like Shaddai says that he won't miss it. For me, it's different. I will miss it because, like I said, my husband was in the military during that generation, and, he was always over in the Middle East. So it's different for me compared to other people. Other people are complaining about games. I was able to use it because it made it very accessible for me to contact my husband when he was in the Middle East.
Nice.
So it has a whole different impact on my life. So I can't say anything. I can't say anything really bad about it.
If my memory serves me correct, you were a big fan of Recore. Would you say that was one of the most overlooked games from the Xbox portfolio?
I would. I feel like because it got a lot of bad press, a lot of people didn't bother even playing it. But I would suggest if you're someone who didn't play it, at least try it out. Form your own judgment on it. Either if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. But at least you could say I tried it and I formed my own conclusion versus just going off of hearsay.
I thought it was a great little game, personally. I definitely think it was overlooked.
It was great. I loved it. I don't understand why people complain about it so much. Like I enjoyed it for what it was.
It needed a little more cooking in the oven. We saw that with a lot of games during the gen, but a good take there. Don't worry, Lady Infamous. We haven't forgotten about you, girl. We'll get you in here.
I'm right over here. I'm just listening. I'm listening to all these stories, and it's just bringing back the memories of when I had mine. So I can't wait.
I can't wait to hear your thoughts on it. You were in on day one, I think, on the ground floor running with that console, so we'll get you in a sec. But let's catch up with Scrub Nurse and see how he feels. Obviously, based on the chat, he sounds like he definitely had a lot more positive vibes from the Xbox One, perhaps, than our compadres, who kind of left a little want. So, Scrubs, Sounds like you actually had a lot of fun with your Xbox One.
Now, I don't know what games Shaddai and Axel were playing on the Xbox One, but y'all need to get some coffee or something in your system. I enjoy it. I think it might be an age thing. I think it might be an age. If you were a certain age when the Xbox One came out, maybe you looked at it totally different. Because I don't know if y'all can see it right there. That's day one
Mm.
edition right
Day
there.
one. Hell yeah.
Day one. I love that game, and I might steal some of ladies fire because I'm the pew pew guy. I'm shooting first person, third
Is
person,
that
we
right?
shooting
Is that
something.
right?
Oh yeah, oh
Interesting.
yeah,
Interesting.
oh
I'm
yeah.
gonna
So
have
I
to.
don't want to steal
I'm,
some of your thunder, but I'm probably gonna call out some of the games you want to talk about. I enjoyed the hell out. Now I'm going to talk more about the VCR. I'm not going. I'll go back to Xbox One X, but if we are, let's just talk about Game Pass. You got Game
Mm.
Pass. We're gonna lead it out the way. Everybody knows about Game Pass. Everybody knows what was there. But to come out, Axel, and you're starting out with Sunset Overdrive, which now that Xbox and Microsoft doesn't have it, everybody's crying for it now. Sunset Overdrive, if you didn't get a chance to play that game was a hit. That game was fun. I loved that game. That was one of the first games where I just went crazy on and let me finish this. I just enjoyed the game. It was fun. It was quirky. The gameplay was enjoyable. It reminded me of Jet Set Radio. So it was a good time sliding around on high wires and shooting clubs or whatever. Um, why are we not talking about Titanfall?
Hmm.
Titanfall, like Happy Cloud Gamer said in the chat. Remember when it was announced the creators of Call of Duty have made their own studio, Respawn, and coming out with how many times were we just sitting there waiting for that game to come out just to see what they were going to do? To be able to sit there, your wall running, you're able to jump from this place there. You got packs, just the things that they did. That of course Call of Duty had to sit and steal because it was such good. And then Call of Duty just never were able to be able to capture that magic that Titanfall did.
Hmm.
So this is when Destiny first came out. And Destiny, the original Destiny wasn't the greatest when it first came out, but I remember the hype, the fun, me jumping on my friends playing Destiny. Wolfenstein. I mean, Gears 4, Dragon Age Inquisition, For Honor for me
Hmm.
was like the sword version of a shooter. You and four of your friends get your loadouts and you go fight up against other people. And I loved every bit of that game. Um, Even when we're talking about like some backward compatibility stuff, which was great to have that with the Xbox One series, people don't realize how important that is until they actually do it. Me getting a chance to go back and play like something like a DJ Hero 2. I don't know if anybody else played that game. You're sitting there with your own turntables, having some fun listening to your own music. Me and my friends who just loved it in the 360 era, Rock Band. We used to all get together on the weekends, get our instruments. One's on the drums, one's guitar, someone's singing, and
Hmm.
just playing
Yeah.
all night. And to be able to bring that with you to the new, even before you had a chance to say, oh, well, I didn't get three or I didn't get four. I only have Rock Band 2. You can still play it. That's just important. Um, Assassin's Creed 2. I know a lot of people played Assassin's Creed, but then, you know, when you got two, the gameplay and the different ways you can assassinate your players, different ways you move around the game, were just a complete upgrade, heavy multiples higher than what was done before, and that really kicked off. It really kicked off that series to grow to what it
Hmm.
became now. Assassin's Creed 1 was great, but when it hit 2, that's when it kind of really went crazy. Like we
Hmm.
said before, Tomb Raider. I didn't hear anybody mention Forza, especially
Hmm.
Horizon series. You know, your 3 you had with your
At
Hot
three,
Wheels.
baby.
Yeah,
Oh
and
yeah.
then especially 4. I would
Mhm.
love for it. Yeah, Axel's smiling because I think he has nothing to say about it. He's like, "Oh yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, that was
I
kind of
mentioned
fun. Oh
Forza. What
yeah,
are you talking
that was
about?
kind of fun also."
Mm.
Back then you still had in that situation, you still had your NCAA. You still be
Mhm.
able to play that, which was one of my favorites. I love that more than Madden, but I would take NCAA. I would create a character from high school, go all the way through college, and then you can take that same character that you created, get Madden, and go through the draft, and then play your whole career until you
Nice.
retire. I love that, and that's gone, but NCAA is coming back. One of the things I think for younger generations that don't understand about this era, this was the end of this era of the midnight release. Yeah,
Oh
you can
yeah.
say,
Yeah.
well, I've been to a midnight release and I'm 27. No, you weren't at a real midnight release.
Yeah. For them, their version of a minute at least is having a 12 o'clock wet dream.
Yeah, midnight midnight release is when you got to your whatever GameStop, and I'm not talking about before they start branching out to Best Buy and everything. You were at GameStop or EB Games, wherever you were. I know Canada is a little bit different, but it's the same. It's the same thing, and you would get there 9 o'clock, 7 o'clock because you put your pre-order in. You didn't just walk up in there and didn't have a game already ready to go. You had your pre-order. Sometimes if it was a shooter, if it was a fighting game, they had tournaments to see if somebody could win a free game. You stood in line all night with a bunch of people. You realize how important hygiene was when you're standing in line and everybody's turning around going, "What's that smell? Is that me? Who is that?"
Don't tell me you were
Because you
playing
just
with
had
what that smell.
It was
yeah.
definitely you, Scrub. It was
This
definitely
is
you.
literally where you get the term sweaties from.
Mm.
They're so serious about the and you would sit there and enjoy and talk in the line about what game you're excited for. You're in line with your best friends. All y'all are getting your game, and
You're
then
like,
you're all
bro, the
going to
last time you showered was that during Halo 3 midnight launch?
yeah, yeah. You all get your game, and then you all go run home, and you. This was when you would take off work. You would literally take off
That
work,
is actually true.
and all your buddies would
Mm.
take off work, and you would go home and play
I
Call of
can
Duty.
make
Oh yeah,
it. I
yeah.
can make it.
Modern Warfare 2. I was single at the time. I was a nurse in the hospital. I didn't take vacations. I didn't go
Mm.
on cruises, but I would tell my bosses, "Hey, it's October, so it is gaming season. So I have this date off, this date off, this date off." And I would sit there. I get my Call of Duty. We
Man
run
got his
home at
priorities.
midnight. We'd sit there, play the game till maybe 10 o'clock in the morning, pass out, get back up, and keep playing it again
Mm.
because you didn't want somebody's rank or somebody's weapon and be kitted out more than you. You didn't, and then you got your noob holiday because all the kids in Call of Duty were getting
Mm.
their games on
Call
Christmas
of Duty
Day.
Day.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's noob holiday. You
Open
would look
season.
on Call of
Noob tube
Duty.
all the way.
That is
Noob tube.
correct. Yeah, the
And
Thanksgiving,
then
Black
all
Friday.
Christmas morning, yes, all Christmas morning, you would make these little kids cry because you were just owning the
Yeah.
hell out of them
Time to bring that
because
kill
they
death ratio up. It's Black Friday.
exactly exactly. And I just that was the end of the open lobbies, lady. You know what I'm talking about, where you could
Mm.
sit there and talk trash in between matches.
Oh yeah, yes, yes. I
Mm.
Oh
am.
yeah, you sit there, you see who's on the other team. I mean, it was
Yeah.
very toxic, but
Yes,
at the
it was.
same time, that's what we had, and we had fun. And you with your buddies, you talk trash. The match will be over. You go right back to that lobby and you talk trash again. And
People are masochists. Man, they talk trash, but you ended up going back again. I
no,
love it.
because I was talking trash and we were winning. So I mean, it was awesome. And so I ooh, I just have so
Yeah.
many good
So
times with
many.
this, and maybe it's because I'm a shooter, but I know I named off games that weren't shooters on
Indeed.
here.
Indeed.
I think we have a recency bias sometimes, and like I said, you play your games like you like, I play the games like I like, but
Indeed.
I had a blast. And
Mhm.
my only bad thing I had with my day one edition of my Xbox is right before 2 months before the One X came out,
Mhm.
which I pre-ordered and got day one, mine bricked. So I couldn't bring anything over. I could never get it back started again. It would never work again. So I lost a lot of stuff that,
Yeah.
cloud stuff you could
Yeah.
bring over, but you couldn't bring everything over when you sucker brick. But I'm not going
Xbox
to take
has
too
certainly
much.
issued in a lot of things now that we take for granted as
Yeah,
gamers because we had it so long, you know.
yeah.
But yeah.
Coolcat Terri named off a bunch of stuff that
Mhm.
everybody's saying, DRM and look how bad Xbox and Microsoft each generation have always been forward thinking and putting out stuff that they were getting trashed about, and then
Mhm.
later on everybody's using it.
Mhm.
So yeah, they might have came out a little bit too early, but I appreciate a company who wants to innovate. And yes, there are going to be some hit misses when you innovate, but when you're sitting on your laurels and just saying, "Hey, look at us. This is what happens." Happened with 360 going
Mhm.
into Xbox One. Hey, we're leading the pack. Look at us. Same thing kind of happening with
Yep.
PlayStation. Look at us. And then your generation turns over and your competition is starting to
Yep.
catch up with you, which
The
is
market
another
leaders
topic we
are
can
always
talk
the
about.
least hungry, it seems like. It seems like as soon as they
Yeah.
become a market leader, they always just kind of sit back and
Hmm.
watch the bankroll come in instead of thinking, how do we stay ahead of the game? Right?
Yeah. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I think I said Tomb
Yeah.
Raider, but that's
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
brother.
not gonna
Great
hold up
stuff.
any more time, but I was
All right.
hyped.
We're gonna bring Lady
Lady,
Infamous in
what you
here
got?
right. Great stuff from everybody so far. Everybody's had a very specific take on their thoughts with Xbox One. I'll give you mine in just a minute, and I'm going to try to keep mine extremely short, sweet, and powerful. But speaking of short, sweet, and powerful, Crazy Louie Gaming in a house, and good to see you, Crazy Louie. Glad you're feeling a little bit better. He's been definitely under the weather. We appreciate your messages of positivity that you put out there on the Twitterverse and stuff, Crazy Louie. So we got to get you on this morning show here very, very soon. We promise. But in the meantime, he drops a super chat, $9.99. Good morning. What got me into Xbox One? The trailer of The Division. I saw that and said, it's got to get me an Xbox One. First game I played, Dead Rising 3, awesome game, and Rise, Son of Rome. There you go. Two of the pinnacle games that came out during the launch phase that still have a resonating effect today, and that says a lot. Dead Rising 3 was amazing. Unfortunately, number 4, I don't know what they did with that one. They just totally dropped the ball. But either which way, I do digress. Let me just catch up with the chat real quick here and see if anything else came down the pipe.
Well, let me just say, since I didn't get to say it last week because he was absent, Joe Dunmore, welcome to the chat. You have some
Yes.
explaining to do.
Welcome, Joe Dunmore. Yes, Cerebral Paul always welcomes him in with a fashion. Tony Grasso is here, late but always great. Good to see you, Tony Grasso. DJ Berto Doss. We got a crazy crispy Rambo hanging out with us. I see Maddie Burns is in the house. We got the Who's Who. We got some new people. El Boogie gracing us earlier. I don't know if she's still here, but El Boogie, if you're hanging out with us, thanks for being here. Jesse Darby's here as well. And now let's head over and give it up for El Boogie's co-panel member of GWG, Lady Infamous, who is our special guest this morning. So, Lady, I'm dying to hear how your take on the Xbox One. I'm pretty sure you had a day one edition, if my memory serves me correctly. And you live out west, and you've been to some of these E3s, I do believe, and you've had a chance to meet some of the bigwigs. So I'm quite interested to hear what your take is on this whole thing.
Okay, I'm gonna have to keep it real with you. I didn't. I didn't own the day one edition. I did not.
Oh,
I
okay.
was late. I was late because I'm the type of person that I'm not going to replace a piece of hardware unless it's officially done. Like it's unplayable. So my Xbox 360 Elite was unplayable, and
Mhm.
that means I was playing the shit out of it. So I got 2 jobs because I was staying on my own and I wanted to get this new Xbox. So I
Mhm.
worked 2 jobs, midnight shift at a gas station and in the daytime at the coffee shop to be able to get a bundle, at GameStop. And it wasn't like, it was a really grind. Like every 2 weeks
Mhm.
I got paid. I went to the bank. GameStop was across the street and I would put $50 here, $75 here.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Nice.
so I got the Gears of War bundle from Xbox One. So it came with the Gears of War game. I forgot which one. I want to say 4. And then I
Mm-hmm.
ordered offered like Xbox Live for a year. I got a controller, extra controller, and I got the Destiny game. So
Mhm.
it was really good. I had good memories, even though people say, oh, they don't have no games. Yeah, we was kind of dry, but I think the actual hardware actually helped me a lot because
Mhm.
one, nobody don't want to talk about that you could stream directly from your Xbox. You didn't need a
Mm-hmm.
graphics card, you didn't need a PC. That's how I started streaming. Like really
Mhm.
started streaming was connecting my Twitch account to my Xbox, and I wanted to stream Call of Duty or Destiny or GTA, Full House Poker, anything, They had that feature, My first camera ever
Mhm.
was the Connect camera.
Connect.
When
Yeah.
I couldn't afford, the Logitech 1080p, I had the big bricks. I had what you guys say, the Xbox One
Mhm.
Fat, and I was new to digital as well, so I was slowly transitioning from physical disc into more digital, and it just started. It was like literally a stepping stone for my streaming. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So with that, it comes a lot of like audio issues, visual issues. And I'm not saying that I ain't gonna lie to you, it was not crispy clean. I didn't have a separated mic. I had just my microphone and the camera, and I just had to work with what I had. Skyrim, Call of Duty. I think the main game I was playing was like Call of Duty because that was my shooter.
Mm-hmm.
And you know me, I love when, especially a guy. If I'm
Mhm.
online and the guys be like, "Oh, you play Call of Duty?" I'll be like, "Yeah," and they'll really underestimate me on like how good I play
Right.
these games. As far as like FPS, I'm just putting that out there. It just helped me so much. Then I got like the Elite controller as well. The weight, actually, I think you said it was about the weight that you enjoyed about the
Yes.
series. So I like that as well. I wasn't too worried about what other people said about what lack thereof. Some people thought it was an
Mhm.
entertainment system, which was fine. People bought it for that. And
hmm
people bought the Xbox One to play games. And the real loyal fans really stuck through that Xbox. They had no games. Because it was like that for years.
Mhm.
And but as long as you had your friends in the particular game you had, it was all good for me. And I had my fat baby until I couldn't play it anymore. It was like GWG was like, you know what, the series S and X has come out, you're gonna get your X, you are going to get you a new console, because I was playing the shit out of the Xbox One. I
Mhm.
think I don't know, because some people had it for a little bit and it died on them. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know how you took care of your console. I took care of my hardware, because I'm not. It
Mhm.
wasn't like, okay, if
Yeah.
I can break this, I got money for another one, and I didn't. So I made sure I took care of mine. I'm gonna miss it. People say they don't. Eternal say he don't miss it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna miss it, because if it
No, I
wasn't,
do not.
I'm gonna miss it, because if it wasn't for the Xbox One, I wouldn't have had, step my streaming game up, and got the
Mhm.
PC or the graphics card or the Stream Deck or the key light or the camera. Everything's like an upgrade, and I'm happy. I'm happy. I have no
Mhm.
quarrels with the one. I miss going to GameStop, because GameStop was like, I called it my little plug house, because that was
Mhm.
all the games. It had all the codes. It had
Yeah.
you know guidebooks and everything. So they knew who
Mm-hmm.
I was. They
Mhm.
knew what kind of games I wanted. And this is like towards the tail end of buying physical, like the last hoorah of buying physical
Right.
copies and going to midnight
Mm-hmm.
launches and stuff. If I would have known then what I would have known now, I probably would have went to a couple of more midnight launches, but now it's not the same as it was before. So I got fond memories. I broke a controller sometimes. My Connect broke down on me, and
Mhm.
let's talk about a Mixer. We're not gonna talk about Mixer. You had a great
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't see
the
how I
Mixer.
forgot that. Yeah.
Mixer, and the beginning whisperings of Game Pass and the backwards compatibility. I mean, I was like, you could tell me I could play Fallout New Vegas. You could tell me I can play GTA 5.
Mhm.
And with Game Pass, I'm gonna be completely 100% honest with you. People didn't know what it was. I didn't even know what it was because I never heard of that before. And then at E3, in the beginning, you had people literally giving out Game Pass codes. Like, hey, you ever heard of Game Pass? Here's a free code. It could be 3 months, 6 months, or a year, but hey, it's a code for a subscription service. And it became the phenomenon that it is today, to the point that other companies are trying to replicate that. But I miss it. I miss it, and it gives me fond memories. And I have my Series X like on top of my desk right now, but like under my desk, I still have my Xbox 360 Elite with the 250 gigabyte, and then my fat baby down there, 250 gigs.
Mhm.
So it's just that lets you know how down I am. So that's how I feel.
Yeah. Well said from Lady Infamous right there. Oh, damn. Yeah, this whole topic I hadn't realized could potentially take up an entire show. Because we all have a lot of, we love Xbox, and we have a lot of fond memories. I mean, it was a short generation as far as console generations go. I mean, they kind of pulled the plug on it early. And as someone said earlier, I think Phil and company couldn't wait to step away from the Xbox One just because it had left. It's like putting a car in a race that is never going to get you anywhere. At some point, you've got to pull the plug and start over. And I think that's what they wanted. They said it in that Xbox show that the Series S, sorry, not the Series S, but the Xbox One S and the Xbox One X in particular were love letters to the hardcore fans. More than anything, it wasn't made to sell to the casual gamer. It was made for the guys and the gals who were in this podcast to show that Microsoft was still committed to that hardcore audience that got them to where they were, and that they could still build top state-of-the-art hardware. That's what it was. So that way, when people decided to drop $600 or $500, whatever you want to call, on the Series X, they were going to feel confident in that investment, that Microsoft was still committed to that part of the game. And that is part of the game. Despite the games, which should speak for themselves, hardware is also key. Without great hardware, some of the games just never fully are realized. And we also saw, again, the Xbox One fall victim to the social media generation, because that's something the Xbox 360 was lucky enough to bypass. Because social media was not near as prominent during 360 as it was. Could you guys imagine the debacle if we turn back the clocks and Twitter and Facebook and all of these avenues were as big back then during the red ring of death as they were today? I mean, most kids don't even 100% realize what a red ring of death is. We all do. We all had multiple consoles. And you know what? The biggest reason we have an Xbox One, and one of the biggest people we should thank, is Steve Ballmer. Because that show proved to me, and that was my favorite part of the show, when Peter Moore says, I had to walk into Steve Ballmer's office. Okay, you guys know Ballmer. That guy even intimidates me, and I don't work for the man. Like, he looked like the kind of guy that would chew you a new asshole and fill it back up with bubble gum. You know what I mean? He was that kind of a guy, And I was like, he had to walk in and say, man, we got a big problem here, like massive problem, $1 billion problem. And instead of sitting there and going, he looks at Peter Moore and says, just fix it. Don't care about the money, fix it. And that right there is the turning point of Xbox, because without that investment, without them committing back to the fans and fixing that massive gaffe, Xbox One, the series as we know it, and Xbox as a game company may not have existed after that. It literally could have ruined that company, right? It almost did. We take some of that stuff for granted, but man, a botch like that you're not talking about like a small sample rate. I forget what the number was, but it was staggering. And I would say it was because in my household, when the 360 came out, there were 5 of us, okay, in my household that had a 360 during the launch years. And 4 out of 5 red ringed. Okay, 4 out of 5. So that tells you right there. Only one of my nephews stayed working the whole time. Perhaps because you never use it that much. I don't know. But ready, I do digress. Here's a few things. Xbox One, I will always have super fond memories about Xbox One, simply because, one, I was actually able to win my Xbox One during the Pepsi Doritos contest up here in Canada. So I actually won the launch edition. It came with Forza 5, the Kinect. It was, you know, the big green box and the VCR console inside. So I won that. I always thought those contests were a load of crap, but I was lucky enough to actually win. And I was like, I guess these things do work. I had to drink a bunch of Pepsis and eat a lot of Doritos, but
and it shows. I mean,
and it shows. Look at something for all that. But I won my Xbox, and so that to me will always be a memory I'll never forget. Is getting that call from Pepsi Canada saying you won it, and you know, and play, and it showed up at my place. I think it was on the day after Christmas, and I remember the glee I was in. Obviously, they were pretty hard to secure themselves back during 2013 when they came out. Was in the, you know, obviously more in stores than the current situation. So that in itself, but you know, it's things like Terry said, first console to use expandable USB, right? We also had the invention of Xbox Design Lab, which most of us take for granted. But hey, not only can you get a color controller, but you can design your own controller, right? Pick your own color schemes. People take that for granted. Nobody else is doing it. Xbox started, and I've got my Newf Nukem controller there. It's one of the most proudest things I have in my whole collection is seeing my controller that I designed the colors of, and my gamer tag is on it. That is so freaking cool. My friends come over and they look at it and go, "Holy crap, you got your name on a controller?" It's like, yeah, it's like really cool. You know, we could talk about the launch lineup. It actually, Xbox One had a fantastic launch lineup, right? I mean, Dead Rising 3 was amazing. I love that. I didn't. Oh man, I'm telling you, that's what I'm saying. You know, Forza 5 was really good when it came out. Yeah, it was a little lacking on the content side, but it was really damn good, and it also looked fantastic. You know, we also had Rise, Son of Rome, which is still a pinnacle game today. Backwards compatibility, which is a thing that they got laughed at by the competition for how many years, but now that the competition's finally doing back and back, that's what it's cool again, right? But oh, Xbox, who plays old games? Who plays old games? That's what we heard for how many years? Wii plays old games. Hey, Nintendo's made a killing on people playing old freaking games, have they not? Right?
That's right.
Exactly. You know, we had the reinvention of probably the best controller ever. I mean, honestly, the Xbox One controller felt like it was like, I don't know. It's just as soon as you picked it up, it felt right. You know, they didn't have obviously the share button included. That was something forward thinking by the competition. But Lady Infamous said it as well. Streaming direct. Going direct to your streaming platforms. Then they did Mixer, which, rest in peace, the Mixer was an amazing platform that I really loved, and unfortunately they canned it. You know that. And one of the other things, I guess, the faults in that generation that most of us take for granted, and we saw the writing on the wall early, and this is something I'm still not fond of today, is the damn massive install and update sizes of games have gotten from being like, okay, sizable to ridiculous, right? It is getting out of hand. I don't know what's going on because, I mean, maybe we just got spoiled because during the 360 generation, man, like you could have a game downloaded and updated in no time flat. You get an update and it might have been 512 megs or the odd 1.5 gigabyte. If you had something that was 10, that was a rarity. But nowadays, 10 gigabytes, if you see a 10 gigabyte update, you're kind of going, whoo, that's not bad. I could do that in like 2 minutes here.
I got a 45 gigabyte update. 45 gigabyte. That's a whole game.
I know. Remember when Xbox One,
unless it's Call of Duty 60 plus gigabyte updates are the norm. Okay.
Absolutely. You know,
Poor Scrub. Yeah, I can't say anything to that because it's true.
It is.
It's
It's
installing
horrible.
an update right now while the show is running.
I do not play that game anymore.
you know,
Halo has knocked that out of the box. Yeah.
Yeah, and remember, like when it first came out, some of the games that first came out, they were like, "Oh, the install size for this game is like 50 gigs," and we all were freaking out that 50 gigs, and now they're well beyond 50 gigs. I mean, some of these games, like Halo Master Chief Collection, like 110 gigs or some whopping thing like that, and the Call of Duties are around 100 gigs, and you're just like, what? Yeah, Back from the Dead 10 gigabyte update. Most indie games aren't even 10 gigabytes. You know, it's just insane. It's just insane how the console evolved. And like I said, the Xbox One was the unfortunate, at the unfortunate time where they tried to lead the industry a little bit too fast, and the marketing was absolutely. I wouldn't say really it was atrocious. It was just, again, ahead of its time, and it was misconceived. And when the competition made the whole joke about it, and that became like a meme and a run-on thing, that didn't help. The whole Kinect and the extra money, the Kinect should have been, by all intents and purposes, a much better device. It should have been, but it didn't. They had a nice piece of hardware there with that, and I knew what they were going for. Unfortunately, too many people in the public did not understand what Microsoft's mission was. That the whole TV thing, I think we all agree, was definitely something that they should have steered clear of. The public wasn't certainly ready. I like I said, I do miss the picture-in-picture thing. Was cool. Playing a game and watching something in the corner, that was neat. There was a lot of features that kind of died. Even that was their little their little streaming thing where you could basically create your own videos. That was cool, and they never updated it, but it was awesome, and I wish they'd bring it back. What was it called?
Studio something.
You're talking about Project Spark or something?
No, the stream.
You get to edit your.
It had a basic,
Studio
it had basic
uploader.
video editing abilities. It had basic video editing abilities inside the Xbox itself.
Must have been canceled early because when I started playing, I never saw it. So
I created my first
uploader?
YouTube videos were created with that, and it would actually work quite well. It wasn't that hard to pick up and learn, and you could actually make a half sensible video with it.
Isn't it supposed to be for a Series
It's
X?
trash.
Oh.
It doesn't work at all. I think they got rid of it. They never updated it for years.
Supposedly it was gonna be a better version when the Series X was gonna release.
Yeah,
and they never
that
did.
didn't happen.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Upload. It was
yeah.
Upload Studio.
Upload
Yeah,
Studio. Thank you, Terry.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Terry. So Upload Studio, like David led the way in so many different things with the Xbox One, and like I said, it was just unfortunate that a lot of these debacles were highlighted by the media, and it was a bad stigma. And I mean, most of us who had one enjoyed it, and for the most part, it was just as good or better than anything the competition had. But then there was a lull in the games. We all remember that. Like after 2015, there was a period of 2 or 3 years when it felt like all they were concentrating on was, hey, we got the Xbox One S and we got an Xbox One X, but there really isn't a ton of games, specifically designed for it, or the exclusives, as we like to call it. And even that was amazing too. I mean, I love my One X. I'll never get rid of mine. It's the Gears console, and also the return of Rod Ferguson, which, because if people didn't realize, Rod Ferguson had left. He left Epic Games at the time, and he went over, I think it was to the studio that was doing BioShock Infinite there. And then whatever happened there, he was helping them finish up that game, and then he got pulled back in, I guess, by the Xbox team to come on and basically take over the coalition. They were called something else. The Black Tusk was the name of the coalition before they became the coalition, and he headed up that studio, and unfortunately only stayed for 2 Gears of War iterations. But it was good to see Rod come back to the fray. I love Rod Ferguson, because just the way he talks, his demeanor, he's just a genuine guy, and I wish he was still with the coalition. But I think Gears is in a good place moving forward, and I think Gears is not missing from its combat or the things it's improved. It just needs, they got to refocus on the storytelling, and perhaps even do a prequel game. Go back to the days before, the big
before they
fallout.
killed Dom. Before they killed Dom.
Dom.
Yes, go back.
Go to the Pendulum Wars
Gears
game.
So bad. Pendulum
Yeah.
Wars.
So that means they gotta bring Cliff back then.
Hey, I still think the Xbox should. If Cliff seems like he's grown up and learned a lot in the last couple of years, and I think nothing makes a man grow up further than is having failures and humility. Right, that makes a person grow up. And when that game failed, that one that they made, what was it called? That shooting game we did, Lawbreakers.
Lawbreakers.
Yeah.
And when that failed, and he kind of became, he went from Cliffy B, this crazy eccentric designer, to kind of like, hey man, you're like an industry joke kind of deal. Like, he seemed like he grew up a lot, and you can tell by the way his demeanor is, and it sounds like he's totally open to coming back and spearheading something. So, like I said, if you can leave your ego at the door and you don't become bigger than the team itself, I think Xbox should bring him into the fold and see if the man still got that spark for the franchise. Sounds like he still loves it. Why wouldn't he? I mean, that's something that he invented, so he was part of that. But anyway, I'm kind of getting off topic. But man, the Xbox One generation. What do you say, man? I really enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. Rise of the Tomb Raider, so many great games. Titanfall, the original, which spawned an amazing sequel. You know, we saw Cuphead, which came out and had exclusivity for well over a year. You know, Microsoft taking a lot of chances too at indie studios. We saw that during the Xbox One. It really flourished. Whereas kind of funny because remember when the PS4 came out, they were all about the indies. And then as soon as their big AAA stuff landed and started getting critical acclaim, then all of a sudden they almost like ditched the indies. And Xbox and Nintendo Switch became the pioneers of the indie games. They were the ones promoting, you know? So yeah, I
ID
don't
at
really have
Xbox.
much
That was the generation when they introduced ID at Xbox, which was a
It is.
big deal.
Yeah, it was. So there you go, guys. Rest in peace. Eulogy to the original Xbox One. You left us, many of us, with many fond memories. And the good thing is, we can take a lot of those fond memories with us because the Xbox Series consoles are back in pat. Yes, and Game Pass, bringing everything into the fold, baby. That's probably one of the biggest achievements they've had during the Xbox One generation. They pioneered Game Pass, which has evolved and turned into an absolute best value in entertainment. Not just gaming, but in entertainment, period. Enough said. Any further thoughts before we get over to Coolcat Terri in the Indie Spotlight?
It's going to be a 6-hour show. It's going to be
let's get. We might give a few topics today. Let's catch up with the chat. Mr. Joanna Dark is in the house. What's going on? Dan White is here. Stubbs Gaming hanging out with us as well. Crazy Louie. We got Brian Hopkins in here. What's going on? Sour Blow Gaming is in the house. Love that name, Sour Blow. All right. Who else we got? Back from the Dead still hanging out with us here. So good to see everybody in the chat hanging out. Thanks for being here. Anybody who's new to the podcast, thank you for being here with us today. If you haven't learned this already, Lady Infamous is our special guest. And after the Indie Spotlight, we got a couple more topics, and we're going to get her to chime in on that. But right now, let's bring in the Indie Spotlight with Coolcat Terri.
All right, everybody. I know some of you, look forward to this segment each week. So I got you guys another, really great little indie game. Some of you may have heard of it, but I'm going to go ahead and introduce it via the trailer like I normally do. So let's go ahead. Up. Yep. All right, here we go.
The Wild at Heart.
All right, so that's The Wild at Heart. Now, this is your story-driven kind of action-adventure game with puzzles. It also, if you noticed from the trailer, for those of you who are a little bit, as you may have noticed, it also had some Pikmin kind of mechanics going on in there. It's a fantastic game. It features some children who run away from home because they, like the boy, for example, has some issues with his father who doesn't pay attention to him. Alcoholic. So they have some, pretty serious themes. They, he runs away from home, and he has to build up, bonds with his other friend, and then the magical creatures that they meet along the way. It's very well done. I played it, and I was really, really enjoying it. So you play it, you break things, you collect loot, you fight enemies. They didn't show any of the battles in that trailer, unfortunately, but there are fights in the game. And it's just it's great. It's fantastic. I highly recommend it. Now, for those of you who don't play on Xbox, it's $25 if you want to get it on PC or on PlayStation or the Switch. But if you are on Xbox, you're in luck because it's on Game Pass. So you can go ahead and swoop in there and give it a go right now and enjoy it because it is great. So get it while you can get it on Game Pass. I don't know if it's on PC Game Pass. I cannot confirm, but it is on Xbox Game Pass.
There you have it. Check it out. The Wild at Heart, the indie spotlight this week from Coolcat Terri. All right.
let me just say real quick that one of the things that looked like the character was vomiting on the plant, to projectile vomiting to get it to grow or something. Got my attention. Now, I'm sure that's not what was going on, but that's visually what it looked like when I glanced over. It's like, really?
Very nice. Go check it out, guys. As you said, it's available now. Yes, I think you said it was on Game Pass, correct?
Yes, it's been on Game Pass for a couple of months now, so I don't know how long it's going to stay there since it's been there for a good while. So I would say don't sleep on it in case they decide to rotate off the library soon.
Yeah, Mr. Joanna Dark says The Wild at Heart is a great game and such a gem. Agree. 100% agree, and the themes are dark a little bit. So there you go. All right, our next topic is about Stalker 2. It is one of the most highly anticipated games of 2022. The game was been pushed back. I think it wasn't originally supposed to come out in 2021, wasn't it? I think originally, but
it was supposed to come out.
Yeah.
It was supposed to come out at the end of the year. Then it was pushed till spring. Now it's pushed till the end of this year. So
there you go. So it was supposed to come out early this year. Now it's been pushed to the back half of the year. Obviously, it's a graphically intense game. They're saying something about the file size is going to be massive in this one as well. Let's bring in Lady Infamous here. She will give her thoughts on this particular game, if she's excited for it, and what does she feel about the delay. I mean, some people say delays are a bad thing, but they become almost an industry norm at this point. Nobody is shocked anymore. How do you feel about it, Lady Infamous 415?
I'm not surprised. For the past 2 years, we've been having issues with all kinds of games being delayed for various reasons, and it doesn't bother me one bit. I'm still excited to play. It's just that there's so many other games that, I can keep my eye on during the time being, and that I wouldn't have to worry about Stalker. But my thing is, I'm hearing whispers that the new Call of Duty is going to be released a little bit sooner. So I'm worried which month of fall is Stalker's going to go in there with. I don't want it to get overshadowed by another game because they took a while to, get the ball rolling and get this game being made. And someone who only just read a little bit of the lore and saw, previous gameplays from other folks, I'm interested in what's going on, but I don't want it to be overshadowed by, a copy and paste franchise game, But I think delays are a good thing if it's, we don't have a choice and if we, how can I say this? It's going to get delayed either you like it or not. Either you're going to be patient and get the game at the time they're going to give it out, or you're not going to get it when it gets released. And it been times that I was like, man, y'all delaying this, and it's not, it's not. All right, I'll play you when it's on sale, or And sometimes people can delay a game, and it could be beneficial for the actual game. Because you don't know. Let's talk about Battlefield 2042. That's a perfect example.
Trash.
Okay, yes, it is garbaggio. I paid for that game. You know what I mean?
I did too.
All right.
100.
Oh, that's your problem. You know what? That's your fault. You should have never paid.
I know. In this chat here.
You should have never paid $100. Did you pay the $100 after you played the beta?
Yeah.
Dang, they got you good.
Yes.
Oh, you're my new favorite, Lady Foxfire. You need to come back every week.
So, they delayed that game so many times, and even though they gave us the beta, I think the time that they were allowed to fix that game, they didn't get it. They needed more time. They should have delayed it. That's a perfect example of why a game should be delayed. And when Battlefield came out, man, I didn't even play it. I didn't even play it because I'm like,
No.
okay, I'm about to get in Battlefield, but then we got the announcement that multiplayer was live right now. So
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, I'll play some Halo, and after I've done play Halo, I can get to Battlefield. So it's like a sense of dread because it's like I paid money for a game that's not technically finished. And even though I don't want, even though games are going on Game Pass, I still don't want my games to be looking like that. So delays are okay, and I'm still excited, and I can't wait to play in the fall.
Nice. Speaking of Stalker 2, has anybody even played the first game? Because I have no bloody clue. I feel like I'm missing out somewhere.
I have not played it, but that's what's good about games is like when you're completely blind from something, and the trailers intrigued you,
Mm-hmm.
the production,
Right.
I just haven't seen any gameplay. That's my only gripe. I haven't seen any gameplay of the new one. So I'm just want to see what it looked like, and hopefully that it comes with a good story, and I'll be entertained in the fall.
Reminds me a lot of Metro Exodus. Anybody else get that vibe?
Metro
Yes.
Metro is actually
Yeah, for
made
sure.
from the Stalker series.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that makes perfect sense. Alrighty, open house on this particular topic. Who would like to jump in here next? I have very little to say about it. It's another delay.
While it's fresh, it just dawned on me. If this comes out the same time period as Starfield, I'm gonna have some serious problems. Because there's only so much of me to go around. It's like I'm gonna want to play both games. As far as delays, I have no problem with delays. I've said it before. If it needs to be delayed, it needs to be delayed. We don't need another Cyberpunk. We don't need another Battlefield. We need these games to be ready when they're ready. And yeah, I still give an excuse to the pandemic and everything. Well, we're out of the pandemic. No, we're not. Okay, we're not there yet. And Phil said 2 years ago it was gonna be at least 3 years before everything was back on track on schedule. So I have no problem with delays. Am I sad when they're gonna be delayed? Because I was looking forward to it this spring. Absolutely, but I've got other stuff I can play. So and let it be done when it's done. Hopefully, I'll still be alive by the time it's done. So that's my take on it.
It's funny because usually delays, the funny thing is, it usually meant that a game improved or got, better, but that's not necessarily the case these days. We've seen numerous delays where the games really haven't become that much better. You referred to Battlefield 2042, Lady Infamous and Scrub, and there was also like Cyberpunk 2077, which had how many delays and still came out broken as frig. It was like what? I mean, obviously, we got to chalk a large part up to the COVID pandemic and the fact that a lot of teams, were broken up and segregated and had to deal with hardware and technical issues and communication issues. Like we have unless you're a developer, you probably a large scale developer, we probably have no idea what they've really had to go through. And I can only imagine it's been a real challenge, especially if you got multiple teams like on a big AAA where perhaps you got one part of the team working in one part of the country and someone at another part and everything's trying to come together. We know how that can kind of work. It's like communication in a house when nobody leaves their bedroom. It's tough. Right.
Well, and to add to that with Cyberpunk, you have boards of directors going, release it now. It's not ready. Release it now. It's not ready. No, we're telling you, release it now. Okay, fine. We're going to release it now. And that puts the developers in a bad spot. They're really caught in the middle. They get yelled at by us, and they get and it's not their fault. They want to go, but we didn't want to. But sometimes they're not allowed to say, but we didn't want to. Somebody, and so they have to take a lot of heat they don't deserve. Yeah, they take a lot of heat they don't deserve. So.
Yeah.
Someone said, Joanna Dark, what if Stalker 2 gets pushed to January, February 2023 and gets time to shine? Well, that is a reality of the situation, but let's hope that it comes out in the fall, and perhaps it should get another delay because, as Paul already alluded, if a game comes out neck and neck with Starfield, which clearly is the popular favorite overall, I mean, amongst the community, I think if you went in the chat, which one would you pick if you could only play one? Which are you going to play? I'd say we'd probably be 80% Starfield. But is there anyone else on this panel here today that's super excited for Stalker 2 and very disappointed with the delay?
I'm definitely interested in Stalker 2. I'm not disappointed in the delay. This is one thing I've been saying maybe for a year. Keep looking for these big titles and these games you want to play getting delayed all the way through next year. Games you're looking for that are going to get delayed. You got to look at games that have mocap. People aren't able to get around and be together to do that every time there's a lockdown or it gets worse, because we're not just talking about American companies. These companies are all over the world. So there are different situations on how they do. I know Canada's a lot more stricter than it is down here in the States versus another country. So you're going to have those problems. Two, I think the reason why Stalker is getting delayed even more is because if I think the last time they did like a little walkthrough kind of trailer thing, how they were saying they were trying to go 4K and maybe trying to push a steady 4K 60 or if not more. And depending on your size, depending on the staff you have, depending on the money and the technology you have to put in these games, it's either going to take you building up that studio, a lot more people to push it out, or you're going to need a lot more money and time. So I'm definitely not, if they're going to push the limits of it, you might not know the full dev kits. They might not have had it until a certain time. That might push them back. They get the full SDK and they got to start tweaking some more and realizing, well, this is not going to come out when we need to. So be prepared for that. Like I said, this is a time where gamers have always complained about this doesn't have enough games. This console doesn't have enough games. This situation doesn't have enough games. There are so many games out right now. Most people, or if all of them, should not be complaining about a game getting delayed because your backlog is up to the top of the ceiling or past it. And I think everybody's just wanting to jump on what's the new thing. I'm waiting for the new thing. And then if you check, and I'm guilty of it too, oh, I played this game and I'm 75% in, but this new game that I was waiting on, and you jump on that, and then it might be a year later before you get back to that same game, or you might not even get back to it. So let them do their things. What they've shown so far looks gorgeous, so I'm all for it.
Duke Nukem Forever should have been canceled. What was I think Dreadpool said in the chat? How long did you want that game to be delayed? That was in development hell for years. Came out and turned into be one of the biggest turds for a while. I mean, I played it. I thought it was okay, but certainly not nowhere near the expectations that gamers had held for Duke Nukem's return. That's for sure. So.
I also think some games should. I'm sorry. I also think some games should not fail, but it shows to everybody else, hey, get on your stuff. You don't want to be like this game. You don't want to be like that game. So it's a wake-up call to a lot of people. You
bring up a good point there, Scrub, because the thing is, when a game comes out botched, I mean, like I said, you don't want a game to fail, but at the same time, if broken, unfinished games continue to come out and they sell really well, it almost sounds like we're accepting that. Do you know what I mean? Like if you went to a car dealership and you bought a complete lemon and it broke down every like second week that you had it, would you not go back and be absolutely livid with the car manufacturer or the dealership, right? You probably would. So why does it games get a pass? Because I think the whole, we can patch it later thing of this generation of consoles has almost become a crutch. It's almost gotten to the point where it allows these companies, and I blame it on the publishers who largely are not investing in their studios to give them the proper R&D or the proper, the product control teams that they used to have back in the day. Because a lot of it now is we are the product testers, whether you want to face it or not. That's why there's so many bloody betas now. Oh, let's let the community find all the problems with their damn game. We'll try to fix it. And you know what? If it comes out at least somewhat of a wet fart when we release it, well, we'll clean up the mess later. and hopefully everybody will forgive us. But sometimes these games need to fall flat on their face and just say, you know what, we're just getting tired of it. Like, stop making broken games, because at least, I mean, we can all forgive a few glitches here and there. Like, I mean, that happens to the best of the games. Facial things miss or a texture misses, but sometimes they're like broken. They're broken to the point where the game either plays like complete dog poop, or it's broken and your games are crashing or deleting save files and all of these sorts of major issues. So what would you think about that?
Well, I mean, it's definitely a problem of the times. When everything was only on a cartridge or a CD, you couldn't have these problems. The game wouldn't sell. The game would get thrown in the trash bin, or put in a landfill a la ET game. So back then you had to have it right. It had to be perfect, or the game was busted forever. And it's just a problem of the times when you can do quote unquote over the air updates. When you can put out a beta, folks can play it online, you get it out to the public, and then if there's a problem, oops, we can fix it real quick. Because of that easiness, or we say easiness, but because of the ability to fix stuff post launch, you will have this problem more and more.
Any further thoughts? Actually, you're quiet. And anybody else? Terry, Shaddai, anybody?
I'm quiet because I really don't have much to say about Stalker 2. It looks good. It looks good, but it hasn't captured me beyond looks. Like, I don't know. I'm just not really feeling Stalker 2. Maybe I need to see more gameplay, or this might be one of those games that I watch a streamer play initially just to see if it's something I want to try. But hey, it's on Game Pass. I can try with basically zero risk. So that's a big plus.
There you go.
They should make a Stalker game, and it's about a mosquito that basically follows you around and tries to suck your blood.
Wow.
There's an interesting premise for a game. You gotta go around and try to suck as much blood as you can from people on the road. It'd be funny.
That's basically the guys with the fly swatter chasing Lady D and Village when she's in her lingerie. That mod, I call that Stalker.
Oh
too.
yeah. Yeah, I see the new mods for was it Shadow of the Tomb Raider, where she's going around basically wearing next to nothing. It's crazy. Crazy, those guys.
I have not seen them.
No?
Let me look them up.
Yeah, there's one. Yeah, she's basically got this little tight bikini type thing on. She's going around through the jungle. How realistic is that, right?
Right. Yeah, no.
Yeah. Damn.
Lara Croft is will always be my first game crush, but no. I think the more serious Croft is better.
Perfect.
But by the way, real quick, let me say, you're talking about, the file sizes and how they used to fit on cartridges. Well, we're way beyond that. The only way they could do that nowadays is because the better the technology gets, the more resources it takes. That's what we're running into. And because people aren't going to want to go back to limited game, because then you're going to run into the other side. Well, this game doesn't look as good. Well, the one way they could get around that, and I really hope they never do this, is basically put each game on a thumb drive of the size needed and forget patches. You go back to what you get. That may solve one problem, but it also may raise the price of the game by quite a bit. You
raise a point.
Yeah.
It kind of sucks. Feel like a disk drive is no more than modernized beer coaster thing, and it's kind of weird. Yeah, I'm popping in my games on the 360, the last couple of days here, and you can actually hear them spinning and reading the game from the drive because there's no install, right? And it's like, I miss those times. Yeah, the consoles definitely got louder, but I just kind of miss that simplicity. And now you put a game in, and again, all it is just put it in. Oh, it's DRM. You actually own a copy of this game. There you go. That's no more, no less, so like, to me, it is like, why do I still get hung up on a disc when essentially there's really nothing there? It's, it's like buying a hamburger without the meat.
Of course, I also remember hearing that sound on the 360 going, oh God, there's now a big, large scratch all the way around the perimeter of the disc because it's, holy shit.
Yeah, the old motor spinning. Crazy. We
never
got
got that.
our
I
good
never
friend
got that.
Dragons TV, aka Lemon, is in the chat, and he drops a super chat $5. His delays are good. You don't want a game to launch when it's not done. Good morning, everyone. Well, good morning to you, Mr. Lemon. Good to see you in the chat, my friend. Hope you are doing really, really well. Yeah, so there you go. Dude, this is one of the best podcasts ever. So glad I discovered this. Well, thank you, Dan White. That's a high compliment considering the competition that we face each and every week, including a great podcast that comes up shortly after this one, including the Iron Lords podcast. You guys should go check it out if you're not acquainted. But anyway, let's keep the ball rolling, guys. Some positive. Actually, before we get into the next segment, does anybody else have one of their personal segments you want to do this week? Is anybody ready? Axel, anything on clouds? Paul, anything on accessibility? Scrubs, do you have anything for Game Pass? Or who wants to do a segment? If you're ready.
I am not ready.
No, nobody said anything when I did this in the DM, so I was kind of like, okay.
I actually didn't see that part in the DM, but no, there's really nothing new on as far as ground shaking on accessibility.
Yeah, we kind of know what's going on Game Pass, and just check it out. Always my favorite, like I said, use GamePassCounter.com. I'm going to check on that. I'm just jumping in because I got a roll, so just telling everybody, have a good morning. Glad y'all came out. Glad to have Lady Infamous on the show with us. Enjoyed that, her takes on everything, and everybody just have a great rest of the weekend. We only got a couple more hours left. Hopefully you're off tomorrow as well, so we'll just see. Good time to grab some games and have some fun and stop being toxic.
Absolutely.
That's only on Call of Duty.
Yeah. Now, during our private chats as well, I had this question proposed: have we gone away with the creator spotlights or a community spotlight? No, we have not. We were kind of waiting on various panel members to do one, but we're not going to do that anymore. We're not going to go the round circle route. So what we're just going to do, it's going to be spontaneous each and every week. So if somebody has somebody they want to highlight, wants to bring it forward, great. That's how we'll do it from here on out, as opposed to just whatever. And Scrub is gone, so he had to leave, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So Scrub Nurse, guys, again, his contact info is in the description on the YouTube. So go give him a follow, and we wish him well. And we'll see him back here again next week. But yeah, that's for those spotlights. We will bring them back, and whoever has one ready to go. So if somebody's got 20 people lined up, we'll do those people. It doesn't matter. Yeah, we're not going to go this round circle. We'll just, and I've already got probably a dozen people I could easily bring in here. But anyway, let's move right along. Let's talk about the Xbox and its recent success. Numbers are coming through that it looks like they're close to 12 million consoles at least shipped, which I would imagine at this point a lot of those are probably sold through, because the fact you walk into a store and you can't friggin' find these things tells you, and it can't be sitting on shelves. So either the scalpers have them or they're selling through, and I would say that's a pretty good scenario for most of these current gen consoles, the PS5, the Xbox Series consoles. Well, we heard that they said about 25%, oddly enough, of PlayStation 5's purchase have not been activated. So that's not a good sign. That tells you that a lot are sitting in somebody's bedroom or a warehouse somewhere.
I actually wonder about the activation percentage for Xbox, because they would have those same numbers. They just haven't gotten out.
True, and we know the scalper's hanging on to them too, but obviously the Xbox is still like trailing in demand. At least I think it is. My perception from my friends and my social circle here is that PlayStation 5 is still in a little bit of a higher demand, and the Xbox Series S, because it has been more readily available, is sort of quelling a little bit of that Xbox demand, because people are at least able to get in on the ground room floor with a console. It might not be their preferred purchase, but I think some people are like, you know what, whatever, I'll get a Series S because it'll tide me over. I'll trade it later, I'll sell it, or it's a capable machine. There's nothing wrong with a Series X, and if you're not a disc-based collector like I am, it's not gonna be a big issue for you to own one.
Our friend Animated Evil bought one because he could get one, and what he's going to do is pass it to his kids when he gets his X. And I know a few people that did that. They said, well, we'll get this one and use it for now and pass it to the children, after we get or put it in the guest room after we get the Series X. whenever that
Yeah.
may be.
Or a
So-
great second console too, right? Something
Yeah.
to throw in the bedroom or take on the go, like when you're traveling. The Series S would be an amazing console because you can pack it into a small bag. The Series X, not so much. Yeah, that's a little bit of a hefty bugger to be toting around in a backpack. But Series S, yeah, not a problem. Heck, the Series S, isn't it smaller than the One X?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Anybody here on this panel have a Series S, by the way? Does anybody have one?
No, I got the X.
You
I
got
didn't.
the X?
I wanted to go big or go home. I wanted to go big or go home. So, but I know last year the Series S was like the hot. I think it was the hot ticket item for the holidays. It was.
next to Oculus. Next to Oculus. Oculus kicked ass this last holiday
That
season.
was insane, wasn't it? Man.
Yeah.
Everybody got an Oculus. So
Yeah.
No, I do not.
you do not? Oh. I don't have one either, but I seen a lot of people get it this Christmas though.
I just think it's weird because I mean, there's several of us in this community have been preaching VR for the last couple of years, telling people you got to try this crap, and nobody took it serious. Now everybody bought one. They're like, "Holy crap! I see what you've been talking about. This shit's amazing." And it's like, yeah, so yeah, welcome to the VR evolution, people. Yes, it's only going to get better. It's still infantile, but my God, just the implications are never mind. I'm not even going to say it, but you know,
Words are hard. Words are hard. Yeah.
Words are hard for Newf Nukem. But you know, in the next 10 years, it's just going to be insane where this technology can potentially bring us, and it's still not going to be for everyone. But anyway, that's a topic for another day. Let's get back on topic with, again, Xbox selling really, really well. And you know, in the grand scheme of things, if there's a few million between each console, that's still a pretty damn good win for Xbox in the way it's perceived, because Xbox is not in as many countries and as many accessible places as PlayStation 5, where PlayStation 5's become sort of that brand that's, you know, world renowned. It's liked in a lot more areas. I mean, we know that Xbox, as hard as he tried, they're still really behind when it comes to the Asian market, you know, in places like China and Japan and all these places where it seems like it's almost like a loss. They've made big strides, but it's still very, very small compared to the competition. Nintendo's killing it over there. Unbelievable. Like, they're not even close. Like, it's not even a race in Japan for Nintendo. It's like they are way out ahead. Like, nobody's catching those guys. They're just owning that market. And I say that's largely probably due to the portability of the product, because that's just what they like.
Not only that, but also you have to include the culture. If you don't know the culture from the Asian market, that's another problem, because not everything is going to be one way. You know, everybody look for portability, compatibility. There's a lot of things, but when it comes to sales like that, it's all about price points. That's that's pretty much it, other than the ship shortages. But also, you know, like you guys said, is the entry point, and a lot of changes that they made it very how you call it, very, you're getting a lot of things for your buck. Pretty much it. That's pretty much it. So that's the way I see it. Another thing that I see is a lot of people, when they say console gaming is dying, that's another thing that will let you know that it's not. It is still there. There's a lot of people that prefer their hardware instead of digital.
Yeah.
So, it's still healthy for the game. It's still healthy for the gaming. It really is. That's the way I see it when it comes to pretty much, those estimate. The turnarounds. They're doing at least something. They're doing great in Microsoft after what we said earlier, the colossal of the 2013 Xbox One. So, this is something. This is awesome for Microsoft. The changes, everything. That's how I see it, and it's still gonna come up. Probably raise more. That's the way I see it. So, what about you guys?
He wants to chime in here on the success. I mean, that's obviously a really good thing and a very positive. In the current market, like I said, where it's been absolutely not only for the manufacturing but just for fans trying to get a hold of one, it's been a challenge. So I mean, the fact that it's come out and even got that many consoles out in the wild is obviously a pretty impressive feat, and people are really, really digging the Xbox. I think a large part of that might be due to Game Pass. Would you guys say that's a fair assessment that Game Pass is now driving Xbox sales?
I think that has a lot to do with it. Not only that, you have xCloud tagged onto that. So even if they can't get a console, they're getting into the ecosystem. And Game Pass also drives for PC. So there's some people, like I have both, but I have some friends who only have PC. They have Xbox on PC or Game Pass on PC or whatever they're calling it now. And we can play together, we can chat together in the same system. And they have a lot of the same games. If at some point they either can or choose to get a console, a lot of these games will move over as well. So I think between the three, between PC, console, and cloud, I think that's why we're seeing the almost exponential growth of Xbox, and we're going to see a lot more of that in the Asian markets. And I think it was Lemon who posted in chat that the cloud gaming is playing a lot into that market because they can play on the devices they already have, their tablets and their phones, and so hey, that may, and I've been preaching that noise for the better part of a year, even here, saying that's what's going to get them into the Asian market. So.
Oh, you're totally right, because if there's one thing, like in Japan in particular, and the Asian markets, like for years they've been ahead of the game when it comes to cell phone usage, cell phone gaming. I mean, it's big here, but over there it's been big long before it was big here. Like they're just very keen on that stuff. They're technology leaders, and like Terry pointed out in the chat, they are notorious for liking their tech small, fast, easily accessible. Not big hulky behemoth things, So large controllers and large consoles scared the devil out of them over there.
Yep, and their internet and online access blow ours out of the water.
But the question is, when it comes to updating on the phone, isn't it gonna come either sooner or later to be bigger as consoles right now?
Well, no, phone games only need to be so big because they're only dealing with a small screen. It's the same reason that Oculus games can look as good as some of them do and not use that much memory, because you're only dealing with a small piece of visual landscape or to play with. So they even though it looks great, it uses a lot less memory than it would on a bigger screen. So they can keep things small. Also, cloud gaming is just that. A lot of the resources are just pushing the information to the phone, which really isn't doing a lot of the heavy lifting. So that's why we can do you can play an Xbox Series X game via cloud on a 1X, because the console itself isn't doing the heavy work.
Yeah. Paul, by the way, you have my permission to ban Lost Forever there in the chat.
Oh, sweet.
Well, you're going to have to ban me too, because I like it. I like pineapple too. So what are you going to do about that?
There you go.
No, I won't ban you because you called Scrub on his spending all that money on a game that didn't work. Even after being a beta.
I've been like that too. I bought Cyberpunk, so I completely understand. Also, I think the requirements of the studios also help the push of the Xbox Series X and S hardware as well, because there's going to be some games that's coming out that you won't be able to play without the Xbox or being in the Xbox space, I would say. So that also pushed a lot of those sales. I just can't wait to see what comes up in the future.
I'm really happy with this Xbox selling estimated over 12 million. No official numbers, but Z Huge is pretty good on his data for his estimates on Twitter, and he's putting it over 12 million in 1 year. And you got to give it to Xbox, because in some areas such as India, they're being outsold 10-1. And they're doing better in Japan, I believe.
Now, wait. Let me just say, I saw that same article. That article looked like it was written by a high schooler, and there were no citable stats in that article. So I would take that with a heavy dose of salt. I mean, we're talking a big piece of rock salt here.
10 to 1 size grain of salt.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No, whether it's true or not, it kind of points out that Xbox is largely a Western console. UK and the US are the main markets that Xbox is good in. I know it's doing really well in Brazil, and it's coming up in Mexico, Latin America, as far as popularity is concerned. So I really believe that kudos to Xbox for doing that many while being while trying to get a foothold in some of the markets that they've basically ignored over the last 10 years or so. Not necessarily ignored, but just haven't done it correctly in the last 10 years or so. So the fact that Xbox is doing that well, I'm happy for. I'm glad that it's not the blowout that it was last year. Maybe more third-party developers will stop doing these weird 2-year exclusivity deals and realize that, hey, there's 12 million potential customers over here that could be playing your game and who want to play your game.
And you got to remember one thing as well. Everything's subjective, right? That just because it's popular doesn't mean it's the best. The best products are not always the ones that sell the most. The most popular burger joint in the world is McDonald's. They're pretty much everywhere. But does that mean McDonald's has the best burgers and fries? Hell no.
Hell no.
Yeah.
Hell
It has the
no.
most accessible
Yeah.
burgers and fries.
Right? BMW is clearly probably a better car overall from a stand of build and stuff than perhaps say Chevrolet, but Chevrolet is in probably more places, so they potentially sell better. You know what I mean? That's where I'm going with that. It's just because something sells better does not instantaneously mean it's better. Sometimes, yes, that is true, but we see that all the time with products that sometimes it's just popular. Justin Bieber up here in Canada is so friggin' popular. He's even got his own line of Timbits from Tim Hortons called Tim Biebs. And I can't stand that dude, and I can't stand his music. He can go suck a lemon. But
dragons, hide.
Jeez.
I can't wait to come up there in June and get my Tim beans.
Yeah, come out and get your Tim Biebs. I'll send you a box. There's actually people up here. It's so stupid that they're actually selling the cardboard Tim Biebs box for $400 on. I'm like, who's gonna buy a cardboard donut box because it's got Tim Biebs on it?
Well, if they sell, on eBay that flavor or weird water, I wouldn't be surprised by that.
Same people that buy Nintendo Labo will buy it.
Hey, that's where VR starts. You start from that.
Anyway, started getting off topic, but no, great. Any more thoughts about Xbox and obviously this resurgence and a great killer first launch year? No, everybody's good.
We're really happy that it's happening this way.
Yes,
we got games now.
Put it this way, I've seen certain people trying to move the goalpost online. Like, well, you can't really count the X and the S as the same console because, well, the S is for like the low income people. I'm like, oh, shut the hell up.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That.
Yeah, you can't count this series because of the power differential between the two. So in that case, we can't count Nintendo sales either because they're clearly the least powerful console and they're kicking butt. At the end of the day, power is great. We all appreciate it. Anybody who's owned a top-end PC can certainly appreciate it. But what it does, it's quality of life improvements. I mean, like, first of all, that solid-state hard drive, we couldn't live without one now. Right, we've gotten so used to games now booting up in seconds. Like Paul said, when you go back to the One X, which was a damn good console, and you sit there for 3 minutes while your buddies are already in the lobby, and you're like, oh, right? You're like, yeah, man, now I miss my series. You know what I mean? That's
the one really weird thing about that now is if you go back and play older games that had like useful information on the screen while it was loading, you don't have a chance to read that shit anymore. It's like, and if you hit this, oh, never mind, whatever that was, it's gone now. Yeah,
it's so funny because I used to read those tips. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. Like every now and again, like every tips or so, you would see something you didn't know. And I'm like, well, I guess whatever that was, I'm never going to know. I'm playing this game like that. But I love it, man. It is more immersive by far. I've gone into hate load screens now.
Yeah, Terry brings up a great point. PS5 has games coming up, but nobody has the console to play them. This is what he said. I think it's unfair that you know, why are you selling controllers and games for a console that most people can't even buy? It's not even in the store. Like I walked in my Walmart the other day and I said, "Do you have any PlayStation 5s?" And the guy's like, "No, you got to buy them online." Well, you know what I found when I went to Walmart Canada online? They're selling them, but guess what? And I don't know how this works, but they're selling them for scalper prices. I'm like, it's
What?
Walmart, but yeah. If you go on Walmart.ca, it says PlayStation available,
Yeah.
and the base model was $900 Canadian. They sell at
Yeah.
$629.
Yeah,
Are you sure
Walmart
it's
is
Walmart?
Walmart's doing what other like
Amazon is
Amazon
doing.
does. They're allowing outside
Yeah,
secondhand resellers to sell
outsourcing.
their stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what's
so
happening. And I'm like, there's no way in heck Walmart should not even be allowed to do that.
I thought he was
That's
gonna
ridiculous.
call Scalper Mart instead of
I'm just
Walmart.
happy that all
Scalper
these games are coming out on the PS4 until I can get a PS5. So,
Well,
you know,
apparently
to
you'd
give
be able to get
myself
a
the illusion, I'll
PS4.
just wrap my
oh
PS4 around the white
we
binder.
we kind of blew past that. I can see why they went back to the PS4, but I'll tell you what, if they're going to charge full price for it, I've got zero interest in it. Why would I pay full price for a piece of hardware that is now 5, 6, 7 years old? You
They
know,
will because they can get it. You know, that's the
yeah,
thing.
Because they can.
They'll get people that are just tired of waiting for the
right.
PS5s to show up. They're gonna go, forget. I'll just pick up a PS4, and they'll sell another 2 or 3 million units
Yeah.
of PS4s most likely. And guess what? They're actually happier because on the PS4s they're probably making a couple of bucks on the consoles. On PS5,
Oh,
they're
and
probably
now,
still
yeah, at this point, they're definitely
right.
making money on the console sales
Maybe,
because
but
Right.
this
it's
is
cheaper
very
to
much
produce
par
them
the
now.
course for PlayStation. The PS2 was sold for what, 5 years after the PS3 came out. The
Yeah, but we're in a different
PS3
time
was
though.
sold for like another year and a half after
Yeah.
PS4 came out. So this is very normal for PlayStation to continue to manufacture and
Well,
sell their
well,
console.
to announce that they're actually extending that time, though, that wasn't their original plan. Their
I
original
don't think they
plan was
needed
to
to
do
announce
much
it. They
like
just
what
needed to
Xbox
do it.
did. Their original plan was to do what Xbox did,
Yeah.
which was to say, okay, we're gonna move on, we're gonna move forward because they to go back for Xbox to if Xbox were to go back and start manufacturing One X's again, they would have to go back to their suppliers and everything, and they would have to re-put in that old equipment to do that. So
Exactly.
that's the one reason Sony can continue to do so. They haven't replaced the actual manufacturing equipment because they were still producing those machines. They're just extending that life a little bit.
Right.
All right, last topic, I guess, for the day, and then we're just going to do a quick open question for Lady Infamous because I'd like to hear more from her. I'm sure everybody maybe have a question they'd like to ask her, but a quick one, real quick, and it shouldn't take us that long to talk about it. Netflix apparently planning to raise prices again. It's something like 6 times or something in the last few years.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about that? Because I know while the increase is not detrimental, and I don't see hundreds of thousands of people just going, I'm getting rid of Netflix because they've upped it by $1 or $2. But I've always said this again, and this is where people follow the industry leaders and they watch how market trends evolve. And if people continue to just say, yeah, we'll give you more money for whatever, and they just keep buying in, other people follow suit. And this could lead down that trend for the not only the other streaming services, their competitors, but also even things like Game Pass, which I said, and I'm going to stick to it. I predicted that we see a Game Pass increase by this fall when some of the heavy hitting games come out. I could be wrong, and I hope that I am, but I'm still sticking to it. I think we see an increase this year. So what do you think about the Netflix price increase, and is that something that would make you consider dropping it?
I think it's just go ahead.
Go ahead, lady.
I think it's just an inflation thing. Everything's going up, and I think the price is fair because they got good programming. I mean, if you really dig deep on some of the programming on Netflix, it's just some good stuff. And I guess they're trying to cover all their bases and making sure they can give us more programming and better programming and specials and stuff. And I think that's what it is when you up the price a little bit.
Yeah, but the thing is, where do you draw the line? Because one of Netflix's biggest reasons they became so big was they baited people in with like a free months and then a very low entry rate, and all of a sudden it's just like they're doing these updates now and starting to get like like gas prices. It's like every time you turn around, Netflix, another increase. And then they keep adding content, like I said, and some of it's great and some of it's crap. But like for me, who probably watches 5% of all the Netflix shows they put on, because I really don't care. I didn't get Netflix to watch their homegrown shows. I bought it for blockbuster movies. That would be like Xbox saying, we're going to dedicate 90% of our game resources to making like small indie games that I probably wouldn't care about, and then not making the big stuff. Like, so that's where I feel.
I get you.
Right?
I get you. But when Netflix first came out, it was just Netflix. So of course they could keep their costs down, because at one time Netflix was the only streaming service out there that was giving out this service. Of course people were going to get it for like $7.99, $8.99, $9.99. But now you got Netflix competing with Disney Plus, Hulu, Paramount Plus, HBO Max, Showtime Plus, and they're gonna be like, hey, if you still want to mess with Netflix, you just gonna have to pay. And trust me, there's gonna be some people who be like, no, I'm not paying no $20, and they're gonna go switch off to another service. But I guess that's the way of business and competition, because Netflix is not the only service that's raising up their prices. I know.
But that's it. But that also, like, when everybody starts raising prices, and all of a sudden now, for people that wanted to drop the cable bill, are back to basically paying for a cable bill, because they got 15 different services they're subscribing to. This is where the problems start existing, and they got their blinders on. They're like, I heard people literally say, I cut cable because it was getting too expensive, and there was so much programming I didn't care for and didn't want. That's why they got rid of it. And now you got WWE Network, and you got Disney, and you got Hulu, and you got Netflix, and you got Amazon Prime, and you got Paramount, and you got, can I keep on going here? Do you see where the problem starts to come? And then if Netflix raises, they raise, and somebody else raises, and all of a sudden you're paying $150 a month for programming that the average human being does not have enough hours in the day to consume anymore. Like that's kind of where I go with that.
Who's paying $150 in streaming services?
Oh, up here in Canada, by the time you add them all up, at least 10 services alone at over $10 a piece a month, and most of them average over 10 in Canada. Yeah, you're paying pretty much $150 a month to enjoy
services?
all of those.
Who has 10 services?
That's a little overkill. I personally would not like even have the budget to spend $150 on streaming services. Just like a good 2 or 3. Probably
we still got our Game Pass in the mix, not alone the streaming stuff.
Yes, Game Pass is like my main thing, and that's because I could justify that purchase. But I can't. I ain't rich. That's a lot of money. Services. I can't do it.
But give this a thought. I'm sorry to cut you, lady.
Go ahead.
But give this a thought. When way before Disney Plus was announced, I remember that Netflix had every program included there until Disney decided to create their own. And they were like,
shows, right?
Because I remember they were like, you know what? We're going to remove all our shows that are Disney and place it to Disney Plus. All of them. So
just so you know, Disney wasn't the first to pull their shows from Netflix for a offsite streaming service. Paramount did it before them, and that's just normal. I mean, that's just, and real quick, the way you're just gonna have to become a discerning customer. And I know some people who bounce. Okay, this show's coming on this service, and this month I'm gonna get this service for long enough to watch this show, then drop it, and then get this service to watch this show. So they bounce that money around. They don't buy a year each at $99 a year or $120 a year. They just buy bits and chunks.
But this is the thing. You just said it. There's some other ones that they pulled a lot of the shows or anything like that from Netflix to put it on their own services. It's the same thing is going with the Game Pass, something that we talked, I think it was last week.
Yeah, we're seeing it now here too.
Yeah,
but
exactly. So now it's going to be a choice of which production makes the best, pretty much, product. Is it going to be Disney? Is it going to be Paramount? Is it going to be Sony? Which I wouldn't be surprised Sony creating their own app for all, Spider-Man and the Ghostbusters and all that. So that means we're gonna be seeing studios creating their own. With that being said, that means that sooner or later I may be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised Netflix being pretty much disappearing because they're
No,
pretty much.
that won't happen for a long
No,
time.
no.
But that's what I'm saying. Correct me if I'm wrong, because they're pulling out a lot of the shows like they did
That
with Disney and the other one.
They're
You
creating
know,
their own. That's the thing, right?
if they create
yeah.
your like you know, if they're pretty much homegrown, that's a different story. But it's pretty much, it will come down to who gives you the best you know, who you want to give money to, who gives you the best
Mhm.
entertainment. That's pretty much it.
Well,
So
that's one of the reasons Netflix got into making their own productions, so
mhm.
they could pull in new stuff and get you to tune in to watch their stuff.
The question
Um,
is if if it's good to watch, because not all of them are great. So
and
that's if it's a good
that's
thing to
goes
watch.
into what I was saying. People will bounce
Hmm.
back and forth,
Right.
which which is fine. I mean, and so some of these places that do it will try it and it won't work, and they'll go crawling back to Netflix or whatever. Just like EA tried it with their service and they ended up coming back and jumping into Game Pass because their service couldn't hold its own.
But
They
sometimes,
didn't. They couldn't offer enough new stuff to keep up the demand. Plus,
but remember, we sometimes goes to, okay, EA made good games, but at the same time they want this, they want that, because you know they
but
have a bad reputation. I explain it to them.
EA makes a lot of the same games year after year after year. There's no football, FIFA, whatever else. It's
Mm,
so that's a very limited market in many ways. Um,
true,
some
true.
of you have never touched a Madden game and never will. Some of you have never touched a FIFA game like me and never will. You know, so they had a very limited library.
Hmm.
Really, if you look at it, they have a limited library. Um, and it's never growing year after year with great new banger titles. I hate that word, but there it is. Uh, so and it's going to be the same with all this stuff. Yeah, all the different studios are trying their thing. Some of them will work, some of them won't. It's the way the market is right now. There, a lot of people are thinking, well, we can do the same things. I mean, a certain competitor thinks they can do the same thing and compete with Game Pass. I
Hmm.
tell you right now, they're not there right now. They may be there in a few years, but it's going to take them taking the time and inputting the money to get there. But they're not there right now. You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
When okay, I want to chime in now finally. All
Go
right,
ahead.
so the original topic was because of the price hike, and right now people are falling into that trap where they're blaming inflation. It has nothing to do with inflation. Netflix has been raising their prices. They started out doing
Yeah.
it yearly, and then they shifted to doing it bi-yearly. So every 2 years they raise their price. It has nothing to do with inflation. So this is normal for them. They hit their
Hmm.
when they do it, and a huge part of that is because they had to make shifts. They have to focus more on original shows because a lot of their other stuff has gotten pulled by other networks that want to compete with their own
Hmm.
subservice.
Yeah.
They have right now, I think they spend right now between $300 and $500 a year just on TV deals for their stuff, and then they on top, and then that's not including their movie deals that they have to put in there. So that's why your prices keep going up, because you have to fill in that huge cut that they're taking on their budget to keep producing these shows, because that's all they can offer, because everything else is taken by everybody else. So now they have to make stuff that they want to stay
Hmm.
relevant. Most of the no one really talks about Netflix for like other shows anymore because they're all B-list movies no one's gonna watch. People talk about Netflix because of the original shows now, because that's all they have to offer. Once those shows start to fail, Netflix is going to fail. They have nothing else except for those shows. That's their last
Mhm.
lifeline. That's why they've evolved into that avenue, and it's costing them a lot of money to try to keep that going.
That's
That's why
right.
they're
That's why
so
we're going to have
desperate,
season 10 of Tiger King.
and that's why they're so desperate to get these deals, like when they, especially pushing into the anime and stuff like that. And then those, some, and then, that's not going too well when they try to do like the live action animes. And it's just like, you guys, they're shooting themselves in the foot. And it's just, they're in trouble. People don't see it. They are in trouble. They've lost a lot of their stuff. They had to, basically rebrand as the original with their original shows. and they have a couple ones that are holding them going, like Stranger Things and Witcher, and what's that other one they have, the one that's the Karate Kid one, the Cobra Kai or whatever.
Cobra Kai.
Yep. Cobra Kai.
They have some good ones that are going to hold them over, but they have more failures in my eyes than they do success. So they're struggling in that. And
Not
it's
only that,
costing them a lot of money,
cancellations too.
and then it's just the other thing when it comes with the price increases. The biggest thing I always see people do is they'll when someone says, "Oh, it's getting too expensive, I don't want to pay it." The first thing people always shoot back, "It's only $1. It's only $1." Dude, it's been only $1 since 2010. It started out at $8. We're coming on $20. It's only $1 isn't an excuse when they keep doing it every flipping year. And now we're at $20. It's a trap. It's a trap to make you think it's a small little increase. It's not going to hurt your wallet. But when you've been paying that small increase for the last 10 years and now it's doubled, wake up. All right. And majority of the other competitors, the cost of their subscription is half of Netflix is. So of course people are jumping off.
Well said. Well said. See, this is what I've been trying to say.
I'm going to shoot at Axel too. I'm going to shoot at Axel too. And he's like, who has 10 subscriptions? When you start adding in, for me for TV, I have Hulu, I have Amazon Prime Video, I have Paramount, and that adds up. And then you have your music side. I have Spotify. People pay for Pandora. You have YouTube. People pay for the no ab stuff on YouTube. People are paying for stupid Twitter Blue now, which is for some stupid reason. And then, you easily can climb to 10 in no time at all. So it doesn't take long. It does not take long. So no, it's ridiculous.
I've got two right now, Netflix and Game Pass, and that is freaking it. I've drawn the line already.
And Game Pass, Game Pass, and I'm paying for the subscription for stupid Nintendo, and I don't even play enough on Nintendo. I pretty much have it because my buddy begs me to keep it because he's mooching off me. So it's
tell your buddy to pay for that membership. Then tell your buddy to pay for that membership if he's trying.
Not all heroes wear capes, Coolcat. Not all heroes wear capes. Some of them wear beanies.
So it's way out of hand. It's way out of hand. And I got rid of Netflix over 2 years ago because they were already increasing their prices way above everybody else. So I dropped them years ago, and I don't flip and miss them because most of the TV shows they had that weren't originals. Were old. They would always get the seasons uploaded 1 to 2 years after they aired on TV. I can go on Hulu and watch it the next day they aired. Why am I going to wait 2 years to see it on Netflix?
If it wasn't for Stranger Things and The Witcher, which oddly enough happened to be Netflix originals, I probably would have just ditched the service completely.
Mm-hmm.
So
and then, Stranger Things is the only original that Netflix has that I cared about, and literally they put. Because since Orange is the New Black ended, so the only thing they have is Stranger Things for me. I don't need to pay for that every flipping month. I just wait for that 1 month when the entire season comes out. 1 month, that season, cancel, and wait another year.
Yeah, but I bet you any money they'll try to. All these companies too, they're starting to see that how many people go in and drop out for programs, and they'll try to find a loophole on that too. They'll try to find a way.
What they need to do is stop dropping entire seasons at once. That's what
and some of them have started doing that. Like Amazon didn't drop the entire season of Peacemaker, which by the way is a lot of fun. They dropped the first 3 episodes, and now it's going to continue week by week. Disney does a week by week drop.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're at least tied in for the length of the series.
Netflix has Netflix. That's their biggest mistake is they drop the entire season at once. So you just got to buy it for that 1 month, get caught up, boom, done.
Mm-hmm.
Shoot, sometimes just that one weekend. I watched the newest Cobra Kai in 2 days.
That's what I'm saying. And I was done.
Yeah. Netflix price increase. Ironically, I don't feel it because I get Netflix through my cell phone provider. It's included in my plan.
Right.
And it used to be the HD version, but when they raised the prices last time before this one, they're like, hey, they sent out an email. It's too expensive. Everybody's being dropped to SD. I really don't care. SD was fine for me, right?
Yeah, especially on a cell phone. Okay, I don't need HD on a 5-inch screen.
No, I mean, I can watch it on my TV, everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
But Netflix is like that service that I do have to have because I do like their shows. I like the Castlevanias. I like their gaming-related shows, They have the Castlevanias. They have the Witcher, as you said. They're getting the Fallout show. They're going to They got the some anime, even though it's not their own, but some of their animes there. They got Squid Games. They got good movies. Some of them, they got Squid Game in there.
Yeah.
The series, Stranger Things, all those series. Like Netflix is coming into its own for sure. And one of the things I do like about Netflix that I counter with HBO. So on HBO, I was really into Game of Thrones. Like I was really into Game of Thrones. And like one or two episodes in that season had really good fighting and CGI, and a lot of it was subpar CGI, right? Whereas Netflix is on the other side. Every single episode that has CGI is top notch. It's really good.
Mhm.
And so Netflix for me is one of those services that I do have to have. Do I think that the price increases are getting out of hand? Yeah, of course I do. I don't want to pay more. I want to keep my money in my wallet,
Mhm.
right? But I am that hero in my family where I'm the one with the Netflix subscriptions and everybody accesses my Netflix all the time. And I have no problem with that because if somebody's watching Netflix and I can't get on, I'm fine. I'll go play a game. I have Amazon Prime as well. I order a lot from Amazon, and the fact that my Prime membership includes their TV offerings is really nice because it's not just TV; it's another service on top of it.
Right.
And some of the standalone services are available through Prime at half the price.
Right.
You can get it through Prime and only pay an additional $5 instead of an additional $10. So in that sense, that's a little bit better if you do need more of those services like CBS All Access or BritBox if you're into that stuff, or
Yeah.
So Netflix, where was I going with this? The shows, right? What I think Netflix needs before they raise the price again is they need a universe. Disney can do what they do because they have universes. They have the Star Wars universe. They have the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They have, their animated TV movies universes. Each one of those movies have little TV shows attached to them. And Netflix, once you're done watching, I'm gonna once again use Squid Game. Squid Game, that's it. Like it's done and over with, which is nice. It keeps it simple and stuff, but I think if Netflix wants to stay competing with some of these other services, they need a universe. CBS or Peacock or whatever it is, they have that Star Trek.
Yep.
Discovery. That Star Trek is a whole.
They have like
universe in and of
16
itself.
Star Trek titles now. They have like a whole shitload of Star Trek going on right now.
Deck Crew's hilarious. If you haven't seen Deck Crew,
Deck Crew is awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what I'm getting at. They need something that they can spin off into universes, in my opinion. But the price hike didn't hurt me any. It didn't benefit me any, and I'm sure sooner or later it's going to hurt me.
Here's a great idea, I think, for Netflix. If you're listening to anybody Netflix or any of you corporate heads, if you happen to be listening to the show, and I think either one of these could work, well, here's where you go. So, remember how obviously Nathan Fillion, he's not doing obviously the Uncharted movie or anything, right? Why don't you get Nathan Fillion to come over and do an Uncharted show, or perhaps even do a Tomb Raider show, Adventures of Lara Croft, where she does a new adventure and a new tomb every season. Something like that, I think, would be extremely popular, if you ask me. So just a couple of little tidbits, and I would love to see Nathan Fillion like actually play like a TV role of Nathan Drake. That would be awesome.
Be cool, but he's it wouldn't be anytime soon because he's under contract for The Rookie right now, so that won't be happening for a while.
I'm pretty sure he would jump at it immediately. Everybody ever watched the Nathan Fillion thing from about 3 or 4 years ago there, where he did the that small Uncharted thing where you were trying to show that they could do Uncharted, like a fan made thing. It was amazing. Oh my God, it was so good. Go check it out, man. It's just like you're just like, damn, how did he not cast this guy? Unbelievable. I know why they didn't cast him, but yes, I do digress. And like I said, people say, well, Nathan Fillion's kind of old. Dude's not even 50 years old. I mean, if Arnold Schwarzenegger can still play the damn Terminator at fucking nearly 70, Nathan Fillion can damn well play Uncharted.
Okay, he didn't exactly move a lot last time he played the Terminator. It was a lot of standing still.
He never moved a whole lot of the Terminator either. We walk pretty slow, right? I use Santa Cana. Anyway,
it's mostly from when you think about the age of Nathan Drake, though.
Well, yeah, the character is probably a little more mid-30s, late 30s.
the cast they have now is wrong. I mean, Nathan's too young and
Totally
Scully's
wrong.
too young. So it's just it's all wrong.
Young Nathan Drake, or
Well, that's supposed to be like from Uncharted 4 when they started off, like when he was actually a kid.
Mm.
So I think that's where they started the movie from.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Like I said, I like Tom Holland. There's nothing against him, but I just think there's so many other casting choices that could have looked the part and played the part better, personally. But I do digress.
I agree on that.
You know, like J.K. Simmons, I think like him, he would have been, to me, he would have been my first pick for Sully. You know, the guy that plays J. Jonah Jameson in the Spider-Man movies. That guy.
Yep.
I could just hear his voice right now, like saying those one-liners and stuff. It'd just be like, yeah, you know what I mean. But anyway,
he'll always be Vern Schillinger from Oz for me, which is a totally different character.
But anyway, let's end the show on a couple of good notes. I know we're dragging into a little bit of a long side. I don't want to keep Lady here too much longer. But anybody here on the panel, especially Shaddai, since you brought her along today, I have a particular question for Lady Infamous.
You have a question for me?
Well, I have a question for you. First of all,
ahead.
I mean, what is your favorite Xbox franchise? What's the one game that you cannot live without? And preferably an Xbox franchise as opposed to, like, obviously you might say Call of Duty, but what about from Xbox and stuff like Forza, Gears, Halo, anything other, Sea of Thieves, etc.?
My favorite, I'm gonna have to split it between Halo and Forza, because Forza, it gives me, I don't drive. So, and I don't have a license. So my thing is Forza, it's like a real legit game that I have like no background of, and I can enjoy it even though I'm not versed in driving, you know. And I'm gonna also say Halo. I started playing Halo on the later side, like 3, 4, and 5. It's just it's just it's no special powers, there's no special abilities. You get your shield, you get your grenades, you get your guns, and you just shoot. And you know, I've been engraved in the story so much that, you know, I'll play the game multiple times, especially like on Legendary, just to get that rush, you know. So that's what I enjoy most. Honorable mention, I'm gonna say, is Fallout New Vegas, because Obsidian, they got Obsidian, and that is like that's my heart, that's my blood right there. I can play that all the time. So
Nice. Well, you say you don't drive, but I have a feeling that you do. You drive the guys wild.
no, I don't.
Jeez.
I don't. I swear I don't.
Mute the guy. Mute the guy.
I be getting on their nerves every day.
I had to get a cheesy joke in there.
I know. Ain't nothing wrong with a little bit of cheese.
So other than Xbox, what other consoles do you rep?
I have an Xbox. I have a PlayStation 4. I have a Nintendo Switch. I have a PC, and I'm looking at the box where my second PC is that I'm gonna build as soon as I get all the parts and stuff together. So I'm not just like one person with one type of gaming console. I learned a long way that if you want to, if you're serious about being a content creator or a podcaster and stuff, that you have to be well versed in different areas of gaming to have like a real non-biased opinion about it. So I just slowly but surely, you know, I save my little coins and I got a little bit of everything. So my next step is probably, I do want the Oculus. I ain't gonna hold you. I do want the Oculus.
You gotta get it.
I'm gonna try to get it. I'm gonna try to get it.
All right, awesome.
Anyone else who's got any questions?
I have another one. Yeah. What is your very first gaming memory? I like asking my guests this on my show. So, what is your very first gaming memory?
Oh man, I'm gonna tell my age a little bit. Okay. My first gaming memory is when I went over a cousin's house one day, and they had the OG Nintendo, and it had the Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt combo. And I was like, "What is this?" And there's like, "This is a Nintendo." And then that really was started the catalyst of like playing video games. You know, I wanted to. I can still hear the gun click sound. I can still hear the music from Duck Hunt. I thought that Super Mario OG was like the hardest game ever, but that's like my first initial, I would say like late 80s, early 90s. Like that's my first initial memory.
Damn. No, stop.
Nice.
Yeah,
All right, and last question: when you got old enough, or when it finally came out, were you a Super Nintendo kid or a Genesis kid?
I'm a Super Nintendo all day
Oh
long.
man.
I was in love with Super Mario World. That I don't know. That game to me was perfect. Was perfect. So I was a Nintendo girl growing up. Yes.
Awesome. That's all I got.
Nice. Okay. Any further questions, or shall we wrap it? It's up to you guys.
Yeah, I've got no questions for her. Do you like long walks on the beach? I don't know what.
Probably not
Uh,
the beach, but the forest. I'll take long walks
There
on
you
the
go.
forest.
Yeah.
yeah.
That way you can hide the body. Got it. Okay,
You
I'm
already
good. Yeah.
know. You already know, Paul. We're right there. We're right there.
Well, lady, how about this one? As a female streamer, what are some things that you like about it, and what are some things that you would like to see change? As I said, you're in that one demographic that doesn't get enough attention, does not get enough love. Again, like it's this the industry's changing, but it's still a bit of a progression. So, anything you prefer to change, or any particular messages you want to send out, perhaps to other female gamers getting into the gaming scene or into the streaming and stuff like that?
Okay, my one. I got two. One. If you someone like me that looks like me, that acts like me, that wants to do this, you're gonna have to believe in yourself and work hard. It ain't gonna. It says this is not an overnight sensation. This is not something that's just trying to get you paid. This is straight passion here. You know what I mean? If you do not have that, if you don't have passion and hard work, you should be wasting your time doing anything of this nature, because that honeymoon phase of being a streamer, it's all well and good, but when that is over, that's when you separate the people who just trying to do it to the people that's actually doing. When you start spending your own money to get better equipment, that separates the people that want to do it or the people that think they want to do it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And another thing as well, you gotta have a team. You cannot do this on your own. If I don't care if you black, white, purple, male, female, animal, being, entity, you cannot do this on your own. You gotta have a team that sees your vision, that will help you with your vision and think the way that you think. Because I just don't. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. Yeah, you and your team might have disagreements here and there, but when y'all have the same vision and y'all see the same things that I want to see, then we can like make the steps to make that dream a fruition. Because if it wasn't for my girls, if it wasn't for my ladies in grown women gaming, I would not have the cojones to do certain things, get certain endorsements, start a company, start a merch store. That's all. I cannot have done that without my team. So I say again, shout out to Delilah, shout out to Sharice, shout out to L Boogie 0208, aka La Boogie, because without them, I would not have the courage to do some of the things that I do now.
Amen. Well said. Like I said, I love this panel that I have here on Good Morning Xbox and my GAD panel as well. So, yes, you're only as strong as the team that you're with, and if you assemble the right people, the rest is history, right?
Yes, sir.
Great stuff. I was gonna say, if I can start up a podcast with a talking sheep and we could call it Mad Gamers Guild, yes, I might be onto something.
God, jeez, man.
That would definitely be. That would even have to be gaming after dark. Okay, we're talking like late at night.
Cletus and his sheep. Is that what you mean? Hot damn. Great stuff right there. Awesome. Our guest was fantastic. So let's close the show. We'll start with our guest, Lady Infamous 415. Lady, let people know where they can catch up with GWG, your other co-panel members, and anything else that you got going down over the next little while.
All right. I want to thank everybody on the chat for showing me love this morning. I would like to thank everybody on the panel for welcoming me into their space. I know I know some people know me. Some people just met me the first time today. So I really thank you guys for having me this morning. I'm gonna let you know right now. The best thing on a Saturday morning is Grown Women Gaming, 9 a.m. noon Eastern on the Grown Women Gaming channel on YouTube. You got me on my little Twitch streaming hype. You can go check me out at lady_infamous 415, and you can always check me at my side piece, aka Twitter, infamous gang in the building. You can always check me out at there at lady_infamous 415, all in one word. Thank you so much for having me, and I can't wait to collaborate with you guys once again.
Thank you so much for being here, and a big thanks to Eternal Shaddai for having you come on to be with us. Fantastic guest this morning. Again, guys, go check her out. I have linked at least her social media links in the description down below, so you can check her out, and from there you should get all the information that you need to go and support these fantastic ladies of gaming. Delilah, good to see you in the chat. Thanks for showing up and supporting. Great to see you here as well. There you go, one of the GWG members, El Boogie, in the chat earlier as well. Good to see you here as well. And Splendiference, what's up, brother? Good to see you in the chat. Yes, and we got one more super chat coming in, which is what I was looking for, from Sir X-Man. He drops $2. You can get Oculus 5-month payment plan on Amazon. How about that? All righty.
I love me some monthly month payment plans. That's like my thing. That's like my go-to. I gotta check that out.
There you go. More monthly payment plans, right, Terry? All right, Cerebral Paul, let people know where they can catch up with you and what you have going down. You're always a busy man throughout the week.
Yep, Twitter, Cerebral Paul 1. Best place to follow me. I am on Xbox, Cerebral Paul 921. I do this show on Sundays, and then later today, if I'm up for it or if I'm not streaming or whatever, I'll be doing on the Flamish Experience, with just a random mishmash of crap, never really any topics. Then on Tuesdays, I do the Retro Renegades, which is the raunchy show. I think we're even worse than Gaming After Dark most of the time, and we're on way earlier in the evening. Wednesdays, I do Midweek Gaming with Stubbs. We are back on Wednesdays on the Stubbs Cast. And then on Thursdays, I do 4GQ TV. Fridays and Saturdays, I do community game nights. And yes, I'm all over the place. And I have been streaming a lot more, almost daily, on my personal channels. Cerebral Paul, on both Twitch and YouTube. I didn't see that. If it was directed at me, I'll yell at him later. Oh, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, except I haven't made your pop-in podcast, but I heard you during your second show you had some excitement. So it's a Gaming After Dark topic, but it happened live on his show. So there you go. But yeah, so follow me on YouTube and Twitch at Cerebral Paul. And like I said, I've been doing a playthrough of Mass Effect 3 and streaming the whole thing. I'm not doing any of it offline. So anytime I get an hour or two, I jump on. It's a lot of fun. I hadn't played it previously, so I'm having fun. So jump in those channels and join me and say hi.
There you go. Axel 1324, brother. Let people know what's happening with you. Obviously, let people know about your little fantastic podcast on Friday evenings.
Yeah, I almost didn't make it this week. My laptop battery just got here this yesterday, so I was able to replace it. But this is the old one. Look how swelled up this thing is, man.
Wow.
It's supposed to be flat. It's supposed to be this thick right here. It basically almost popped my mouse pad and keys right off my laptop. I had to open the back and leave it open for a while. Anyways, other than that, thank God I was able to make it. Yeah, I'm Axel1324. You can find me on Twitter and on Xbox, just Axel1324. You can find me on YouTube and on Twitch, Axel1324 Gaming. I do have the iconic video game podcast with Princess Zelda and Doggy Dog 420 every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to check it out. We play games with the chat. And we just talk about games, no consoles, no services. It's just about all the games we love playing and look forward to playing.
There you go. And Eternal Shaddai, we'll let you get back to your duties on Cell Block 22. Thanks for being there, brother. Hope all is well. Let people know where they can catch up with you and anything you have happening in the near future.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank Lady Infamous for actually accepting the invite to be part of the Good Morning Xbox that happened during Halo while she was yelling and screaming and
Yes, yes. He was like, "Oh yeah, I know you're just killing some shit on Halo, but hey, you want to do the podcast?" I'm like, I was a little tipsy that night, and I was like, "Yeah, you
yes,
have to
yes.
talk to me tomorrow. You have
That
to
was
talk to
during
me
your
tomorrow."
birthday. That was during
Yeah,
your birthday.
yeah, it was during my birthday, so I was like, "Man, just talk to me tomorrow. I got you though. I got you."
So that's how it happened. But I would like to thank her for accepting the invitation. I had a lot of fun today. People can find me on Twitter at Eternal Shaddai, same thing as the council. I'll be streaming here and there also at ET Shaddai. And, all about gaming. Until next weekend.
Yeah, like I said, big thanks again to Lady Infamous, who had to get up pretty early to make this podcast. People thought my 7 a.m. start time was early. So thanks again for that, lady. Great to have you here. I appreciate you being here and obviously what you're doing in the community. And we wish you all the most continued success. Coolcat Terri, let people know what's happening with you. Obviously, like I said, you're still in that transitional phase, but I'm pretty sure things will be back to normal eventually here.
Yes, everything's going good so far. When it comes to the housing front, everything's still green lighted. So hopefully we'll have the close here in like a week? Weeks. So things are still moving forward. You guys can catch me on Twitch. Going on my 6-year anniversary here. Technically, my anniversary is back in November, but because November got holidays and then that's my birthday, I always push off my anniversary until February, so that when things slow down again and I can actually fit it in. So I'm going to be doing my 6-year anniversary on Twitch here pretty soon. So preparation for that. I play all kinds of different things. You can catch me there from 6 p.m. Eastern up until usually around midnight or whenever I decide to get off. So check that out. And then I also have my own podcast called Just a Glimpse. You can watch the video version of that on YouTube. Otherwise, I do have the audio version on Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, pretty much everywhere under the sun. You check that out. It's a movie and video game based podcast. However, I just started season 3 and I decided to make that more controversial because you know what, I like people being mad at me. so we're gonna go with that. I like people being mad at me. And if
yes, let the hate flow through you.
If I can get people to at least listen to another perspective, even if they disagree with me 100%, I mean, that's good because a lot of times people don't even want to listen to things they disagree with. And we have to at least hear people out. So give that a go. And then also my Twitter is Coolcat_Terri. That one's broken up, so don't make sure you get that one right. And you can usually keep in touch with me there, and you'll be always, it's always filled with different like indie games and things like that are coming out. So you can always have something to keep a look on.
Angry she is, bitch. That's who she will. All right. And obviously, guys, you know where to find me. It's Newf Nukem, pretty much everywhere, always in the gutter. When I'm not hanging out with these fantastic people here in this awesome little podcast, you can catch me Tuesday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Mountain Time. That is on one called the Xbox or Gaming After Dark.
Wow.
Yes. Gaming After Dark with Titan Drago and Middle Age Game Guy. Hopefully they're back in the saddle this week. They were both disposed last week and under the weather a little bit for different reasons. So they will be back. And it was great to have Doggy Dog and Jago Coogan there last week, and who definitely held their own and made it one heck of a fun podcast. So appreciate those guys. And Jago, hang in there, buddy. If you need to talk, we are all here for you. In the meantime, let's let everybody get out of here. It's been a phenomenal show. Nearly 3 hours in once again. But we'll see you back here again same time next week, and we'll keep you posted. So anyway, guys, take care. Have fun. Thanks, lady, for being here. To the chat, you're amazing.
Let's go Niners. Let's go Niners.
Let's go, baby. Let's beat those Cowboys.
Bills. Blow out.
Oh, my God.
Man.
All right.
Who's Dallas? You're Dallas, Shaddai? Come on, man.
No, I said Bills. I said Bills.
You said Buffalo Bills. I know that's
somebody said Dallas. I don't know.
Somebody said Cowboys. Somebody said Cowboys. I heard.
No, I said let's beat those Cowboys.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's.
I'm in the South.
Fan.
I'm in the South. No one cares. I'm in the South. Only football that matters down here is college football. So go Bulldogs.
hurricanes.
Later, everybody. Have a great Sunday.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Game on.
Bye.